barakatuhu.
Welcome.
Hopefully this should be streaming. I don't know if it's streaming to. Is it also streaming to the Facebook as well? Okay, let's see if it is streaming there. It's not streaming there then. Okay, so if anyone can hear us, let us know. We're trying something new today. And just let us know if this is working for you guys.
Tech guy has disappeared.
The guy's disappeared. Yeah, the main guy left a message and then all of a sudden disappeared. So hopefully he's still alive. So if you guys can hear, let us know in the comments.
My camera's a little too accurate.
What do you mean? Oh, it's better
I mean,
than mine. I see you're trying to say it's better than mine.
No, I'm saying it's like crystal clear.
Oh, okay, alhamdulillah. Facebook can see us. YouTube can see us, yeah? Alhamdulillah. A bit laggy on your screen. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. Actually, this is actually a better setup, isn't it? It's much more clear.
I can see what they mean by the lag. I don't know if the same is with me.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about.
But you know, you're like freezing and moving like a robot, basically. You look like you're doing that dance move from the 80s, Mufti Saab.
Dance moves. I don't know that many dance moves, yeah.
And your audio is coming delayed. I don't know if it's the same with me.
I'm not too sure. Okay, so right, so I hope you guys can see. We do apologize for today because Brother Altaf is ill today. He's not well, so may Allah give him shifa.
I mean,
so I'm not too sure why my screen is delaying. If anyone knows how this is supposed to work, then let us know. And if anyone today actually wants to come on, if anyone actually is interested in coming on today's podcast, then we're talking about Salat today, right? And if you have any insights or any sort of like experiences, then we would be happy. We can actually accept up to how much? 6. We can 6 people we can take on, yeah, including us, 6 people. So if you think that you know what, you want to come on and you want to talk a bit about Salat and your experiences, then just leave a message, inshallah, and I can send you a link, inshallah, and you can come on as well. Yeah, but you're gonna have to send a message. You're gonna have to maybe email me a message, right? So unfortunately, we don't have the bar going across at the bottom. Yeah, but anyway, mashallah, Naveed, your camera is very good. Yeah, proper evolution, bro.
It's a new phone. I don't usually use this camera. Obviously, this is my phone camera, so.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I like it. I like it a lot.
I got upgraded it recently, Mufti Saab, so I got that new Note, the Samsung one, so it's got like one of the decent cameras.
Oh, okay, all right.
It'll be good for you as well. I don't know if you're into well, I have to edit a lot of PDFs and stuff like that, so it's good for stuff like that.
Do you like are you one of those guys who just like into criticizing scholars because of with PDFs?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I don't speak a word of Arabic, but I like to intimidate scholars through PDFs, other forms of Adobe.
Allah Akbar. Okay, so I'm just changing the title because people are saying the title's not consistent with the. So basically, what I've done, I'm using a new software here. I'm trying to experiment, see which one's better. This seems to be more flowing, I think, than the last one, because the last one I have to put it through a third-party stream, and it's just a bit headache. So this one seems a bit better in that sense. So hopefully now, title should be consistent. So if you refresh the screen, inshallah, hopefully you should get a consistent one. So anyway, so if you guys would like to come on, then you can email me and I can send you the link, and then inshallah we can have you on and maybe we can discuss. So today, basically what we want to do is we want to discuss about the issue of Salat. As a Muslim, Salat, so there's quite a few topics that I think that, I don't know, I mean, anything that comes to your mind, viewers, let us know. But in my mind, I've got a few topics I think that are very important for us as Muslims, with regards to seeing the importance of Salat as a Muslim. Like one is, for example, like seeing it as a burden, and the other one is seeing it as the duty of a Muslim to, pray and to structure your life around Salat. So I think that's what we want to discuss today on this. Naveed, are you seeing the comments on the side? Are you able to see them?
I can't see anything because I'm using my phone at the moment. So I tried to log in from my Mac, but I don't know. It just didn't recognize the software. Oh, and then it made me download Google Chrome. Then I downloaded Google Chrome, and then same thing. It just says loading, and it was stuck on that image that I just sent you on WhatsApp.
Oh, it's still doing that, yeah. So there's quite a few comments, and so if you want to check out those comments, it's going to be easier for you to see stuff. So you can see comments that are on Facebook and on WhatsApp as well. So I mean, if you can share it onto the main Facebook page, because there's probably people there waiting for our podcast. So I don't know if you can.
Put my phone up and do it.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So guys, so as I was saying, so as a Muslim, Salat is a very important aspect of our lives. Definitely. I mean, we pray 5 times Salat a day. We, have to adjust our lifestyles. Some people even move houses because they want to be close to the Masjid. Then you got like different sort of like people's experiences when it comes to praying in certain masajid, Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, maybe even women going to the Masjid as well, issues where women have, that could be something also which, it's very important to touch upon the topic as well. And it comes to the issue of people, changing their ways because of Salat or lack of change of way. In other words, is it really kind of something which is going to make us a better person? In other words, do we see people praying their Salat and becoming better people? These are things I think that are very important for us to sort of touch upon and discuss, because end of the day, Salat is something which is an instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Salat is a way of trying to understand Allah as well. Right? It's like this kind of like 5 times a day you are praying, 5 times a day you are. Yeah, you back on?
I'm back on. People probably saw my face in some really weird angle there. Please ignore that.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so I was just saying, Naveed, I don't know if you heard. I was just saying, there's like so many aspects of Salat that we talk about. I mean, if we could have someone else, maybe a few other people on, and I think that would be a good idea. So, like I said, if there is anyone who is interested and they would like to come on and they would like to discuss about Salat, it's only going to be talking about Salat. We're not going to be going into politics, and we're not going to be going to Ladypool Road and things like that. Yeah, we're going to try to stick to the topic today. Yeah, Altaf's not here, so normally Altaf's the one that takes it onto a different tangent. But we're going to inshallah stick to the normal. Yeah, exactly.
Scapegoat for us, like going off on the tangents. Musi Saab, I got first question about Salah in general. Do you think the way a person does wudu impacts his khushu in Salah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, without even looking at the evidences, I mean, I see this myself. If I have taken time in doing my wudu, in fact, you know what I've started to do now? Because I always, like, when I come across the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he used to use on average about 700 milliliters of water to do wudu. So 700 milliliters of water is like is maybe just a bit more than this cup. Yeah, probably. Maybe like. Yeah. And I thought to myself, okay, let me try doing this. So there's actually a narration, a very well-known narration in Tirmidhi, where Ali radiallahu anhu, he performs wudu. He was in the Masjid of Kufa. He performs wudu, and then he stands up and he drinks the rest of the water left in the container. He drinks. So people are asking. The email is, that's the email. Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Al-Ahmad. So the people asked the question, what's this? So Ali Radhan said, I'm showing you how I saw the Prophet ﷺ do wudu. Right? And this is an interesting thing because when the early Sahaba, when they learned how to pray and when they learned how to do wudu, they didn't learn it like how we learn it in a classroom. Like you write down all the conditions and you write down all the obligatory acts and all that. It wasn't like that. It was simply a matter of you go to the Prophet ﷺ and you learn how to do the wudu, and that's it basically, right? It's like job done. You just saw the Prophet ﷺ practice it, and you imitate that, and that's done. So the Prophet ﷺ, he took a container, he scooped his hand in, and then he washed his mouth and his nose, and he washed his face, and he washed his face, and then he did his arms, and then he wiped his head. So basically, then what happened was that he stood up, and the remainder water in the cup, he drank it standing, and he said, "I just wanted to show you this is how I saw the Prophet ﷺ do his wudu." Now, I actually thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this myself. So for example, since I've moved into my new house, every time I do wudu, I actually try to do it like this. So I get like one of those, those jugs you can get, those 1 liter or 1.5 liter jugs that everyone has in their bathroom. And I fill it up with like half of it with water, try to do roughly about 800, 900 milliliters. And I do wudu from that. And at the end, I try to drink whatever's left over. And, to be honest, I feel more like in touch with my salat. Now, I don't know, maybe someone else will try that. Maybe it's because I've read the hadith and I feel more of a connection. I don't know, maybe. But it has made me feel more connected with my salat. Like when I'm praying my salat, like when you get that kind of or I don't know, how do you describe that feeling? When you're focusing on something and you feel like just really immersed in it, engaged in it.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling, like you're locked into it, you get locked into it.
Yeah.
And nothing's distracting you. I get more of that in my salat. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. But to me, that seems to be something which is connected with the wudu itself. Purification. I mean, there must be a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us in the Quran to, wash ourselves in a specific way, to pray salat. And answering your question, I definitely have found, I don't know if anyone else who's watching has experienced this. If you guys have experienced it, put it in the comments as well, and maybe we can benefit, inshallah, from your experiences.
Inshallah. There was a video I remember seeing. It went viral a few times now. I think it does its rounds every few months in the year, where there's a sheikh. I think was it in Spain, sheikh? I can't remember the name of the.
Oh, is that the Maliki Mauritanian?
Yeah, he's a tough cookie. The sheikh is. But his video went really viral about the way he does wudu with I think a really small jug or something.
And he was like squatting.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
And funnily enough, obviously, the first thing that Muslim said on the video we saw a little tiny bit of his knee. So the whole video is void now, even though he's a Maliki and there's a difference of opinion. But inshallah, we'll leave that to another day.
Yeah. So they want to start a battle there, war there. Yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to these kind of issues with regards to wudu, although we all learned wudu when we were young, most of us, it's still like something which is personal to us. It's like our own sort of like space. It's our own thing that only we are aware of our own wudu. Like there doesn't seem to be sincerity in wudu, is there? Like you never think about this idea of insincere. This guy's so insincere in his wudu. Yeah, I mean, as someone who's actually done wudu in the mosque many times. Interesting thing is that when you see people doing wudu, you it's just like a normal thing people do. It's like you wash your hands before you eat food. Yeah, people. I mean, some people use the miswak before they clean. Some people like sitting there saying their du'as. Some people are like using soap before. Some people are just like the ones that stand up. I'm a stand-up guy. Yeah, I'm a stand-up guy. The stand-up guys, but you got the stool there, but you still stand up. You half kind of like bend.
You kind of half stand, half squat. There's something in between.
Yeah, I mean, Cam's saying, I feel that wudu gets rid of negativity and calms the mind. Yeah, definitely. Oh, Cam, why don't you come on? Why don't Cam come on? Cam would be good. Yeah, Cam, bro. If you're interested, send me a message, inshallah. I'll send you a link, and you can come on, inshallah. So
I'm actually Altaf will probably kill off my t-shirt, man. Normally, anytime I wear anything a little colourful.
I like that kind of colour.
It's alright. It's like a weird Mendi kind of weird colour.
It's like one of those kind of like cultural...
tribal kind of ones.
Tribal kind of like colours.
Yeah. What about, okay, we mentioned wudu. What about clothing, Mufti Saab? Do you think that if you dress a particular way, you feel more comfortable praying, or do you think, I know it sounds a bit far-fetched, but some people are like that. I know people that if they go to the masjid, they have to wear a kameez, otherwise they can't focus
Mm,
properly.
yeah. Have you
Do
seen
you
those
believe?
mosques where they actually have at the back like a whole wardrobe of
Yeah,
robes?
yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them.
Yeah.
They got these one size fits all jubba in it for everyone.
And some mosques have those boxes with the hats in there.
The plastic green netted
Yeah.
one.
The plastic ones are good.
You know,
It's
it's
like
a good
someone.
idea. I saw it abroad somewhere, Mufti Saab. I can't remember where, but there was something that looked like it looked a bit like a jumper, yeah, but it wasn't actually a jumper. So it's just like it's something that you wear, yeah. Like if you're wearing a t-shirt or jeans or something, yeah, it's just something that you tie here, like you know how you would do a jumper, like
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
school days, just to
Okay.
cover the back. And I thought that was a pretty good idea as well, you know. To be fair,
Yeah, that's because that's a common thing, I think. Yeah, a common thing because a lot of
nothing is
people
more
that pray
off-putting.
with exposures in it, that
Yeah,
t-shirt kind of I call it the jeans t-shirt problem. Yeah, when they go into sajda and you can see their back, and I don't want to describe. Sometimes some people's backs are not the best thing to see when you're trying to gain khushu in your salat. Yeah,
and be grateful if it's the back that is the only thing that you're seeing.
I know. And then see the other thing when it comes to the prayer is it's like the issue with regards to mobile phone going off, people having their mobile phone.
Yeah,
One thing I can't understand is when it comes to like this issue of um, like mobile phone, yeah.
yeah,
My mobile phone is on silent almost 24 hours of the day.
same.
Yeah. And it's not even on vibrate. I don't even put on vibrate. It's just silent. And that's why sometimes a lot of people call me and I don't see the call. And then later on, I'll see like a whole list of missed calls. And sometimes in Salat, I see someone, they got it on vibrate. Why do you want to know in Salat someone's calling you? I don't understand that. And then even that vibration sound is disturbing. Do you notice that? You're praying your Salat and you're trying to gain this connection with Allah. You're really trying to you've been through a big day, yeah, long day. And this is your 5 or 10 minutes where you're gonna try to calm yourself down. When that kind of a snowball effect, right?
Yeah,
You're trying to let everything just settle down, calm down, connect with Allah. And all of a sudden, the guy next to you, his phone is vibrating, and you can hear it. Everyone in the masjid can actually hear it because the masjid is designed for some reason. They design it in such a way that even the smallest sound someone makes on the other side, it can be heard everywhere. It's magnified, right, with the special walls of the masjid.
at
And
least it's just on vibrate you're talking about, Mufti Saab. Have you ever, like, some people have a really awkward ringtone, and I don't know why, yeah, I don't know how they're taught. They'll just let it play. Like, they won't even make an effort to switch it off. It just goes on and on and on, and by that time, you're thinking that, I recognize that, this is this tune from back in them days.
it's usually the Bollywood ones, yeah.
Yeah,
The Bollywood ones are the ones that really ring in your head afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah. So you probably heard like some, I don't know, Tujhe Dekha, or the usual ones, yeah. Or
yeah.
Beverly Hill Cops. Remember Beverly Hill Cops?
Beverly Hills Cops is a famous one.
What's the one? That's a one that just rings in your head, right? Non-stop. And it's like you're thinking, this guy's praying Salat. Maybe some people are not really that sort of like considerate of other people when it comes to Salat, and they think
Yeah.
look, I don't get disturbed. I mean, I don't know. Do people not get disturbed by the ringing of their own phone? Maybe that's something to maybe look into. But personally, I think if you ask me, what would your ideal way of praying Salat be? My ideal would be, first of all, you wear appropriate clothing. Yeah, you don't wear tight clothing. Tight clothing, according to majority of the scholars, is considered to be disliked, makruh, offensive in Salat. Yeah, that's something that should be avoided. And I know there's people out there who say, well, we're not showing our aura. That's fine, but you're disturbing other people when they pray as well. It's like people don't want to see how big your thighs are. Someone don't want to see, what kind of shape you got in one side of your body. Yeah, it's like people don't want to say these kind of things. And even if it's fashion or something, people have to understand you're standing in front of Allah. The aim of standing in front of Allah is total humiliation. You're standing in front of, think about this, the creator of the universe. You're standing in front of the one that's created the sun, the one that's created the atom, the one that's created, every single creature that has ever come into existence and will come into existence. He's the creator of that. You're standing in front of for 10 minutes and your hairstyle is more important or your clothing is more important, and some people in the salat are fixing their hair. In fact, this is the Prophet ﷺ saw a Sahabi actually doing this, and he said,
Yeah.
"Ya Abu Dhar," he goes, "Do it once or just don't do it." Meaning, scratch yourself once if you have to, or don't. This habit of praying and then
Even fiqh is derived from a hadith like that, isn't it, Mufti Saab? Like I know some madahib, they really dislike the fact that if you move around too much or something. I can't remember from the top of my head, but
yeah, definitely, and sadly, the sad thing is that salat has just become something which we do for the sake of it. Yeah, it's like it's like doing your salat is like, have you parked your car? Have you had your breakfast in the morning? So people see as a duty, a duty in itself. They don't see it as something which look forward to. Subhanallah. I'll tell you a narration. Yeah, this is basically one day. What happened was these companions went to visit this other companion. He was ill.
Yeah.
So it was. They said, you know what? Should we pray Isha? Yeah, let's pray Isha. And you know how we say like, let's get it done with. And Ali radiallahu heard this and he said, do you know in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ used to say to Bilal, give us calmness, O Bilal, meaning say the azan so we feel calm, like we pray salat, the coolness of our eyes. And now it's like become simply this salat has now evolved into just this kind of like 5 times a day you stand up, you just do some motions. Have you done your 5 times motions? Have you done in your week? Have you done your 35 motions in the week? Have you done your... And it's like you're thinking to yourself, is that what I'm doing? Am I just doing motions? Like getting out of bed, getting back into bed, putting food in my mouth, autopilot when you learn how to drive.
Yeah.
And you go into the autopilot state and you just do things without even thinking. That is what some of the Mufassirin have actually said, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاءُوا الصَّلَاةَ. They said, in the Bani Israel, they said, the people that came later on, he said, Allah says, they actually wasted their salat. So imagine there's people, many of us who are wasting our salat. Right? How are you wasting your salat? Many of us are praying, but it's like the prayer doesn't really have any quality, it doesn't have any sort of weight to it, it doesn't have any, subhanAllah. And when I think about that, I think to myself, how many years of salat have I prayed and I haven't really kind of hacked the salat? They say hack it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
Maybe
worrying with this up because we fall victim to it all the time. Like in the sense that you could pray like 2 or 3 salah with what we deem as khushu and the proper way with the proper etiquette, but then you'll come home late from work or something like that, and then your one salah ends up being like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, obviously, don't get me wrong. Like nobody does it intentionally, but obviously your body works a certain way, your mind works a certain way, and when it's that late at night. What I find really difficult, like especially because I was on the 18-degree timetable, Mufti Saab, like let's just say in Ramadan, and that by that time, when you're reading Isha, then you come across, then you're like that because you've been waiting all this time. You're not praying in Jama'ah anyway because of normally if you're going to pray Tarawih or Nawafil for us or whatever, because technically Isha doesn't kick in. But by the time if I'm reading a late Isha and it's just before Fajr time, I'm just there like this myself. And it's not like because I'm wanting to do like that, but harshness in one particular matter in Islam sometimes makes us neglect something that's fard.
Yes, it's a strange. What do you do to kind of like do you? Okay, let me ask you a question, Naveed. When you pray your salat in your life, when do you see yourself like reassessing your salat? Do you see it as something every day you do? Which I don't think you do every day.
No.
Like, when do you usually see yourself reassessing your salat? Is it usually after you hear a particular talk?
Nothing like that, Mufti Saab. Shall I tell you? Most of the time for me is that, when I show up, I'm not a Friday Muslim now, but when I show up for Jummah, I tend to go a little earlier, just especially now with, the whole COVID thing and everything. And when I go there and I just pray my 2 sunnah for entering the masjid, and you pray your whatever nawafil, that's when I'll be thinking that this is my voluntary thing, and I'm taking my time, and I've taken more time praying something that's nawafil or sunnah, depending on whatever madhab you follow or whatnot. But I've given more effort and emphasis to these 2 rakat than I would have done in the fard. Do you understand, Mufti Saab?
Okay, okay.
That's when it hits me, and I think that, whoa, like, fix
Yeah,
up.
yeah, subhanallah. You know what? You know, for me, I mean, like for me, I think it's different for me because when I teach as well. So sometimes I might be teaching a particular chapter and I'm reading like a chapter regarding salat. And for
Yeah,
example, I'll give you one example where there's a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he said um, that anyone who leaves their house does their wudu at home like thoroughly,
yeah,
properly does their wudu. That's the important thing as well. I think not just praying, but it's like the whole process of praying. Yeah, like someone just said, the mindset. I think that's a very good point. That is, yeah, Hassan is saying. He's saying the mindset is very important. I agree with that totally, Hassan. The idea of the mindset of salat is something we need to inculcate in our youth, in our children. That it's not about have you prayed your salat? Have you done your salat? Because I know a lot of people, they say to me, I tell my children to pray their salat and they don't pray their salat. But then if you want to ask the next question is, okay, have you created in your family this environment of getting close to Allah? Are there things in your home that are distracting your family from Allah and then all of a sudden you expect them from the blue 5 times a day just to give up everything and just pray their salat like you'd hear like Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu do, or like you hear the narrations of Umar, Ali radiallahu anhu, taking the arrow out of his leg and he's in salat and we're imagining how is that possible? But if you think about it, if a person is extremely passionate about something, really, really passionate about something,
yeah,
that person sometimes can reach such a level that the body no longer feels anything external pain.
mm,
Is it impossible that the mind can actually numb out everything, can block everything out? Like you have
yeah,
on your phone, you have these kind of like functions where you can stop any sort of incoming notification. And I think that is a very important thing to us to realize. Our salat, by us praying 5 times a day,
yeah,
we're not going to be like the Sahaba. That's silly to think like that, right? It's very, very. I think it's very childish to think like that. The Sahaba had in their company the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is you stay in his company for a short while, your salat levels are going to go up there. Yeah. So I think the main thing that we have to realize when it comes to this this issue of realigning ourselves, recalibrating ourselves with salat is like my teacher used to say this. He used to say, he goes, your salat your salat affects your life and your life affects your salat. I think that's a very good statement.
yeah,
Your salat it's like a kind of like a catch-22 paradox, because how does your salat affect your life and your life affect your salat? It's like you have to make an effort in both areas. You got to make an effort to clean up your life. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
If your life's messed up, if you're, for example, like looking at pornography and you're going to pray your salat's not going to have the same, peace.
Impact, yeah, of course.
Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when a person looks at something that he's not supposed to look at, Allah takes away from him that kind of like nur. And when a person guards their gaze, Allah places in their heart a nur which he feels in his ibadah. It's like you feel, you know what? It was worth it. It was worth giving that thing up.
Mm,
And things like halal eating. I personally think a lot of our state of our salat is because
yeah,
of inconsistency and not being careful about what we put in our mouths. That's what I think. Whether it's smoking, whether it's drinking, whether it's eating, right? Whether it's foods that are dubious, whether it's always eating outdoors.
yeah,
You test this yourself, Naveed. Test this yourself. Go on a strict diet which you only eat from. Those pictures of dal you put on your page sometimes, yeah?
yeah.
Just go on a diet of dal for a week or two and pray your salat. I guarantee you observe your salat, you're going to find yourself concentrating more on your salat.
I'm definitely with you, Musab. Another place for me, sorry to go back on the subject of it. Another place where I felt the most khushu in my salah was well, obviously I traveled quite a bit because of work. I think we were in where were we? We were in Uganda in an orphanage, and my salah there, just reading it amongst kids. There's like a school. They had the salah going on. We just joined the salah.
Yeah.
And then after, the kids obviously, like over there, we're the white man, so everyone's looking back and like, wow, this and that. And then the teachers told them to recite Quran after. Like that was like one of the most emotional experiences of my life. Just kids reciting Quran to me after the salah, and they're doing their own type of dhikr and stuff like that. So that's when I really that was next level.
Yeah.
And just knowing that, that people like from the UK have like probably given money towards the place that we're praying in now, it's a different
Yeah.
feeling. So,
I mean,
yeah, I do encourage people as well, travel.
I totally agree with you. I think, when you pray Salat on
Yeah,
mountains, have you prayed Salat in a mountain?
yeah, beautiful. Outside
Amazing,
Salah
isn't
is
it?
something else, Mufti Sab.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like when you're praying and you can sense Allah's, creation around you. It just like
Have you
boosts the
prayed on
Salat to the
Snowdon?
next level. Huh?
Have you prayed? You prayed on Mount Snowdon, haven't you, Mufti Sab?
Yeah, I prayed on Mount Snowdon.
Yeah, that's a
But
quality one.
it was a bad day. That was a rainy day. There was like
Yeah.
tourists going by and saying, "Eh." Yeah, so
It's worth it. Some of the Salah that you actually, there's like a secret enjoyment in it, because like even sometimes like some motorway stops that you're gonna have, they're not gonna have a prayer facility. So sometimes you park, the car doors open and there's like a coat on the floor and you're praying and you're trying to quickly bang it out. The travelers prayer, whether you're shortening it, whatever you're doing, yeah. And even though in your head you're thinking, I don't want no one to attack us and whatever, whatever. But that feeling of that salah sometimes outweighs, your normal salah. Just the fact that you, not that I'm gonna say you put yourself at danger or risk or something, but the fact that you've done it when you've taken time out. You're like no other person on the motorway, like is there. Allah chose you to just stop there in the middle of nowhere and pray in that place where nobody has ever probably prayed before. That piece of ground is going to testify for you and nobody else, because you're the only person that's prayed there. Because Allah ordained it.
That's amazing. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like that's what sometimes, like when I'm thinking about Salah, that's how I think about it. Obviously, like I don't have all the books and the knowledge and all the deeper stuff.
Stop. You don't have all the books. What's behind that curtain there?
They've moved them. They moved them on top of the drawer.
Oh no, all the books. No wonder.
No wonder.
Okay, Cam's saying concentration on the ayahs that you are reciting correctly and knowing what they actually mean helps loads and Salat stops the mind from you. Definitely, that's a good point. When you think about it, I mean, there must be people on here who have different sort of things that that they say when you're giving a talk. You have to have this what do they call it? Like a calming trigger. So, like when you're going to give a speech, they've got this kind of thing in neuro linguistic programming, which is basically you customize yourself to a particular calm feeling, and then you, like, let's say you scratch your thigh or something. Every time you have that feeling in your life, you scratch your thigh. So your mind now is reprogrammed into every time thinking that you scratch yourself, you get this calm feeling. So what basically happens is that they say when you're given a talk, scratch your thigh. Like let's say that was your trigger. Your body will automatically feel calm. Anxiety will go. So what we have to remember is when it comes to Salat, there's going to be different things that calm people down. I mean, there might be some people who enjoy putting fragrance on in the room, some oud, right? And that
I'm a bit like that, at work I do it. I love it.
Yeah. Some people might enjoy, for example, like dimming the lights. Dimming the lights might work for some people. It creates that kind of mindset. Some people might. Ahmed Hamoudi is saying, now stop scratching your thigh.
Hamoudi wants me to scratch his thigh, I think.
Now, Hamoudi, if you want to come on today's show, email me and inshallah I'll give you the link. You can come on, give us your insights. Remember, guys, if anyone does want to come on, even if you want to come on for 5 minutes or so, as long as you're not misbehaving, we don't mind. So we'd like to hear people's thoughts, people's ideas, people's experiences, regarding.
While we're on the subject of praying Salah in different places, where's the most memorable place other than the Haram? Obviously, everybody prays in the Haram. A lot of people have told me the spirituality they felt in Al-Aqsa, they haven't felt that even in Makkah or Medina. Would you agree or disagree?
It's a tough one, that is. I might be inclined towards saying that, I might. But, for me, it's difficult because I find it difficult to be able to recall memories, like recall emotional memories and compare them. But the thing is...
okay, then other than the Harams, other than Al-Aqsa, is there any place that you can think of that you thought, it's a Salah that you've remembered?
Like what you said about the nature one, I think the nature one just has a big impact on me. If I pray around with nature, and the Prophet, he used to enjoy praying in nature.
Yeah.
He used to ask Sahaba who had gardens, because the Prophet didn't own gardens like the Sahaba did. So he would ask them if he could pray there. And Sahaba even said the best places for him to, in fact, pray was gardens and where there used to be sheep as well, goats. Yeah, goats. It's very calming. It's very relaxing. It's like it's with the elements. You can say basically, your mind is not distracted for some reason. If you look at nature, your mind doesn't go to wrong things. Have you noticed that?
Mm.
You go for a nature walk or something, or you go to the park or something. I mean, obviously a park.
There's a word for it. What is it? Tranquility.
Or
you feel tranquil.
Yeah, very tranquil. Your mind naturally does not go to like wrong things. I don't know if you guys have experienced it. I experienced that. But when you're away from nature for a long time, your mind starts to, explore things that, you'd normally, be embarrassed to kind of like mention in front of people.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important aspect of Salat for me personally. Going back to what you were asking, it differs for me. Masjid al-Aqsa was very powerful. I think for one reason was because the people, they are very amazing people.
Yeah.
The people in Masjid, I mean, like one of the ladies in Masjid al-Aqsa, who's like our tour guide, she was saying to us that, so she's a local, and she was saying to us that the people in Masjid al-Aqsa have so much love for Masjid al-Aqsa that even people who are like drug addicts, unfortunately there's drug addicts everywhere.
Yeah.
May Allah give them shifa. But
I mean,
even the drug addicts, he goes, when they hear that the occupiers, the Israelis were like locking the masjid, these people would even drop the needle from their arm and run to protect the masjid. Like when you see people like that, and I saw it in my own eyes, like people who are fighting against the forces inside the masjid, armed forces, and you see the kind of honor they have for the masjid, and when they start saying their chants, biruh wa dam muftika ya aqsa, and they're all saying it together, that just makes your iman go to the next level, man. And you see, and then when you pray salat there next to these kind of people, and you're thinking their earnings are way less than what I earn. Like you're thinking about your own earnings. And because I spoke to some of them, they were telling me what kind of things they earn, and you're like measly compared to what we get over here. And the prices of things over there are like almost the same as in England. And then
it's really expensive there, from what we know. For me, the work that we do in Gaza, like Gaza is probably one of the most expensive countries we work in.
Subhanallah.
And like you say, Mufti Saab, that level, that you can only get in some places, isn't it? And we envy them for that. Do you understand what I mean, Mufti Saab? There's little that you envy the people over there, but you envy them for that.
Yeah, the way I would measure, for example, like khushu in my salat is when I become emotional. So if I become emotional in salat, I mean, everyone becomes emotional in salat, whether you say it or not. But when I become, in Masjid al-Aqsa, a few times I remember I became very emotional. And one of the reasons was because your mind...
And you're a robot anyway, so...
Huh?
And you're normally a robot, so...
Yes, everyone calls me a robot, yeah? Motionless, bro. I'm emotionless. Emotionless Zaman.
Have you seen that film, Short Circuit?
Yeah.
Johnny 5, that's you, Mufti Saab.
Johnny 5 is alive. So, yeah, I mean, because that was like, when you're praying, then you see the old buildings. The old buildings is amazing. You're praying, you see the old, you're saying that, Salahuddin Ayyubi was here, and this is where, the Crusaders came and slaughtered so many thousands of Muslims, and then this has Salahuddin entered this place, and Umar radiallahu anhu entered this place, and that, I think that itself is a lot of the memories that flood in your mind, and it causes like emotional stir. And then you pray your salat and just everything. And then when you hear the qira'ah over there, the recitation, the imams, it just seems to have more of like an honest, it has a more honest tone. I don't know if that makes sense. It just seems more sincere.
I know exactly what you mean with Saab.
And I think a lot of that. And then it's like the food over there. And then Allah has blessed that place. So, but Masjid al-Haram, I would say, Masjid al-Haram would more be like Kaaba. It's like when you're in front of the Kaaba, nothing can compare with Kaaba. For some reason, Kaaba has an energy that you can't even explain.
That's when you're looking up and praying, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, that's what I used to do. I used to look at the Kaaba, and I was just amazed. Its color looks very amazing. Like, have you noticed that when you're looking at it, it's like your eyes are not looking at something of this world?
Yeah.
And that's what I experience over there.
No, I definitely know what you mean. It's the only place where you're praying, and there's like a circular saf, and even that's fascinating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think that is very powerful.
While I got you on the subject, Mufti Saab, of different places, I know you've been to Spain many times, and you've been to places that used to be masajid that are no longer masajid. When you went there, did you feel the urge to pray salah or secretly pray some nawafil?
You know, that kind of ghira that kicks in.
Yeah.
That kind of, that Muslim sort of like honor that says, you
Yeah.
know, how dare you stop me from praying in the masjid that was built by the Muslims? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see the police officers coming after you, and then you break your salat. So I think, yeah, definitely.
Do
So
people off camera? Not that I'm saying you're endorsing it or whatnot. I'm calling for people to break the rules of the laws of the country. Do people pray salah there still?
probably, you know, people probably. I mean, they don't really need to pray salat. There's no that kind
Yeah,
of like
no, of course not.
obligation to pray. But it's like I think people feel it as an honor. It's their legacy, and they feel they have the right. Like, you know, for example, like in India, Babri Masjid. When you think about
Yeah.
that, and you hear about how the Muslims, you know, how they were treated, or you think about those mosques that have been obliterated in China from the face of the, or that those who've been
Turn
converted
into
to
pubs.
pubs.
Some of them turn into bars.
Yeah, and in reality, if you think about it, going back to what you were saying about the issue of the salat itself is not just a 5-time ritual.
Yeah.
Salat is 100% more than this. Salat, it's politics. Salat is your family unit. Salat is your community input. Salat is your tawheed, your oneness in Allah. Salat is a multifaceted like concept that Allah has given to human beings. We haven't really truly tapped into the power of salat. Like, salat had an impact on Umar radiallahu anhu, definitely. It definitely had an impact on Umar radiallahu anhu. It had an effect on Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. In fact, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, you know, when, you know, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used to, Aisha radiallahu, when the Prophet was passing away, the Prophet said to Aisha radiallahu anhu, tell your father to lead the salat. And Aisha said, no, my father's a weak man. He can't hold his eyes. Like, when he starts to read, the guy just cries. Like, this is how powerful this man's connection was to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He recites Quran, and his connection is like out of this world, and he can't control his emotions. Yeah, so this was, and the Prophet said, no, because I'm telling you, tell Abu Bakr to lead salat. He knew this was the guy for salat. He is the best amongst them. So it's just amazing how, you know, if you look at how salat has shaped people, how has salat shaped history? This could be in itself something some people could look into. We don't take salat to be very serious, right? And but at the same time, what you were saying earlier on is interesting. Like, you know, sometimes you'll have a long day, and sometimes you pray your salat and you can't get your concentration in salat. You just can't get it. You try your best. You're exhausted. You know, you came from a long journey somewhere, and I'm sure you've experienced this when you were on your you know, charity projects. And you were exhausted one day, you probably got to the hotel and you just want to pray salat and go to sleep. Yeah. And
but then you think as well, Mufti Sahib, that Allah's so generous that even then He's like facilitated for you that, you know, when you're traveling, you can do this or you can do that. And obviously there's difference of opinion in certain things, but you know what I mean in it, Mufti Sahib.
So basically,
you think that Allah, you've got no excuse basically.
So you're not Hanafi. Astaghfirullah. Yeah.
Hanafi,
So combining,
Hanbali, same thing.
Combining is an interesting point. I mean, combining the prayers. It's like the prayer has been designed around human life. If you think about it.
Yeah.
It's not burdensome, because the first salat that was given to the Prophet ﷺ was 50 salat, wasn't it? So when
before he went to Musa alayhi salam. Yeah.
The 50, and then if you think about it, it's reduced from 50 all the way down to 5. How much percent? By how much percent has it been reduced? If you think about it. Yeah, it's been reduced a lot. Yeah, it's gone all the way down to 10% of what. So if you think about it, salat is not there to become a burden on you. It's not a burden. It's not meant to be a burden. The idea of salat is supposed to be something which creates inside of an individual a connection with Allah. And that's why you find there are so many excuses that a person can have for, you know, reducing their salat, or maybe even missing their salat, you know, or whatever. Because the idea is not, salat is not the aim. The aim is Allah. Always remember that. Always the aim is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obedience to Allah. Salat is a
You're sounding a bit like a Maqasidi now, Mufti Sahib.
Listen. Then you can. Salat is basically a connection to Allah, isn't it? That's the whole point of it. We're not saying you drop your salat. You have to pray your salat. What I'm saying is, when your concentration becomes, I need to perfect my salat, but you have no, like, and you don't focus on becoming a better person in the eyes of Allah.
Yeah.
Then you got to question, what's happening to my salat? Is my salat, like in the Quran, Allah says, Waylun lil musallin, woe be to those people who pray their salat. Yeah, those who who are heedless. Yeah, and salatim sahun. They have no idea what's happening in the salat. They're sahun. Alladhina hum yura'un. Those people who show off in front of other people. Like their life is all about showing off. A guy who shows off in his life can't have khushu in his salat, basically. If you're going to spend so much just to show off to your mates what kind of car you got, or you're going to spend so much on your mobile phone just to show off to your friends what phone you got, and just to show off, what kind of handbag you've got, or the new clothes, the designer clothes that you bought, or the new whatever perfume that you've got, you can't have salat khushu in your salat. How is that possible? Khushu in your salat is where it's the peak of sincerity. Yeah.
And forgive me, Mufti Sahib, for interrupting. It's like humility before God, isn't it? Like
humility before God.
That's what you're trying to do, isn't it? And humility it's hard to have humility when you're persistent in showing off and doing
Qasidi.
You like that one, eh, Mufti Sahib?
That's a good one. That's going to be the new kind of like takfir now. That's going to be the new, the fashion takfir, yeah? MashaAllah, Bima has donated, mashallah, £1 to the channel. Jazakallah khair, Bima. May Allah bless you. Alaikum assalam. Ahla wa sahlan. Bima, I saw you eating that blue burger. Yeah. But no, you know what? A blue burger, yeah? A blue burger. I do not know what a blue burger is going to do to your body.
Did they dye the bun in
I don't know what they do.
Coloring ink? Yeah, or is it blue cheese?
Bima basically was eating in some place, reviewing on his channel. And it's a blue burger. Check it out if you want. Go to his channel. And a blue burger in London. Yeah, I don't know, man. That just sounds a bit like a chocolate factory.
There is some kind of blue burger, but it's a type of cheese. But I don't think the burger's actual color is blue.
This is blue. This is the burger. The bap is blue. Yeah.
Sure, it's not made of plastic, or you just forgot to take the packaging off, brother. There's a Warburton's packet on there.
Or it's like one of those, mobile phones where you have those the protectors on there, and then you got to peel it off when you first buy it.
SubhanAllah.
Someone said only 2 dates today. Only 2 dates. Allah. Romance, bro. Only me and you today. Yeah.
This is it.
And I got the lights in the background as well. Yeah.
And for once, my camera doesn't look like it's prehistoric or from the dinosaur age or anything.
Is this still your phone?
This is on my phone.
Yeah, it's very clear. MashaAllah.
I actually washed my face as well today, so people in for a double bonus.
Are you sure you washed your face, or was it a dream?
I'm sure I watched it. It's a dream. Mufti Sahib, in general, another time when I find khushu in salah, I know it's going to sound really odd, yeah. You're going to think, wow. When I'm praying with people that differ from me in madhab or the way that they pray, and they're praying together, that does it for me, Like, I know it sounds weird, but I like it. Like, I like praying next to a Shafi and let's just say a Hanbali, and like people are praying different, we're praying together. I don't know, it just does something for me. I just find that because it's so uncommon in this day and age, when you experience something which is normal in the Muslim world, and when you see something like when you experience something like that, when you put yourself, well, I'm sure you've been in that situation, Mufti Sahib, but when people, like, that's why I love going to like different countries, like, praying like in a Maliki.
Praying next to like a revert. Have you prayed next to a revert?
Yeah, man, amazing. I love it.
Oh, subhanAllah, this guy's come to Islam. Imagine how he's feeling in his salat. His salat is probably 10 times more concentration and devotion in his salat than my salat. I'm thinking about him, and he's...
Yeah. I know it shouldn't be too superficial, but I love it when, like, the Imam recites in Warsh, because that's, like, uncommon over here. When they pray, like, in different qiraat, do it for me as well.
I'll tell you actually a story, because I haven't said it so far. So when I was in Pakistan... So basically, what happened over there was it was like a weekend break we had in madrasa. So some of our mates, they studied in a madrasa which is about 5 hours drive away in Sindh, in a small little village, and this was like a famous village for qiraat. So what basically happened was we got there. So it was like there were some Tunisians, a group of Tunisians that studied there. So my Tunisian mate who was in the madrasa, he said, "Okay, let's go there." So we took couscous and we took fish. And they cooked you over there. So it took us 5 hours to get there. We were like exhausted, tired. And it was like a middle of a village. Those kind of villages, as soon as you enter, you can smell cow's manure. That one. As soon as you enter, you see water buffalo. Yeah, there's these buffaloes there. And then you could see these like smell the immediately, like the whiff, whoosh, hits you, the
Yeah,
heat.
because it's on the walls of the buildings and
The
everything.
walls,
And
and the
yeah,
streets are really not very
open
nice
sewers.
paved, open sewers. So I was exhausted. So they were like having their little sort of like gathering, the Tunisian gathering, and they were speaking their Tunisian dialect. And I was just like dozing off, and I just knocked off. Yeah, I was just too tired. Anyway, morning time I was fresh. So Fajr time, the guy that was there, right, his name was Hassan. He was a Tunisian. He told his Qari Sahib, can you recite in, I think it was Warsh. I can't remember, was it Warsh or some other Qiraat? So in Fajr, he recited in one rakat, one Qiraat, and another rakat, another Qiraat. And I tell you, man, it was like, it was the first time I heard it, but he read it in a different like tone.
Yeah.
The tone was very different. It was like what they call Panipati. Panipati is like a tone that's developed in India. It's different from what you hear in Arab countries. You don't have in Arab countries.
Yeah.
So it's like the recitation, not everyone will like it. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. It's like that. So anyway, and he recited that in Warsh, yeah. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ لَيْسَتِ النَّصَارَى عَلَى شَيْءٍ وَقَالَتِ النَّصَارَى لَيْسَتِ الْيَهُودُ عَلَى شَيْءٍ. But he did it in his qira'at, so I don't know qira'at. I'm not fluent in qira'at. The way he said it was وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ لَيْسَتِ النَّصَارَى عَلَى. And he's like, huh? What's this? So when you hear that and the different recitation, it's like, whoa. And it just felt so good. Like, it felt rhythmic.
Yeah.
The qira'at, it was like your body, your soul was like kind of like
you didn't start swaying, did you?
I remember. But yeah, I agree. Qira'at definitely do have an effect on me. I mean, I love it when a good reciter. I mean, not someone who exaggerates their recitation. There's some qaris out there, I don't want to mention names, but I don't like their qira'at because you can tell
it's over the top. I know what you mean.
They're putting it on, and then it kind of makes you feel like uncomfortable because you're wishing they don't make a mistake.
Yeah.
Because they're putting it on. And you think, oh, they put so much effort into it, and I hope they don't make a mistake. Please don't make a mistake on this part. But then when you hear someone...
Was it Imam Malik Mufti Saab? He disliked something like this, didn't he? I think it was Imam Malik.
Yeah.
Where people were over the top with it.
There was many others in the early years. They didn't like I heard Sheikh Husari as well wasn't too much into this maqamat recitation. I like Husari. Husari is just nice tone. I always tell you guys on my phone, I have the whole of Husari's Quran, and I just put my earphones in, and I probably do a khatam of the entire listening of the Quran once a month, and I just listen to it whilst I'm going work, coming back, going somewhere, going shopping, maybe on the motorway. I just listen to it, or bike riding. I do bike riding nowadays, mashallah. Yeah, not to show my insincere side.
Are you doing the bike ride with? I think is it GRT doing it?
No. I think bike ride.
You're just doing. I know a lot of charities just because of the COVID thing, they're limited to what they can do. But you can do these sponsored bike rides and all of that stuff now, isn't it?
No, I'm not doing. I basically there's a few guys in my area who do bike riding weekly or a few times a week, and I join the easy ones basically. The big timers, the ones that do 50 miles. I don't do those.
Yeah, there's Brothers on Bikes is a group that's in Birmingham, isn't it? Bob, the whole Brothers on Bikes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
While I got you on the subject of Quran recitation, you know who's got a really good recitation in Birmingham? I think a lot of people go to him for lessons as well. I think his brother's name's what's the sheikh's name? Sheikh Jalal.
Yeah, Sheikh Jalal is good. I like his.
I like it like that. It's not over the top. It's not. It doesn't seem fake or like he's overemphasizing. He's like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You know what I like?
Like when you hear a scholar giving a talk and he quotes ayats without any tone. Without any tone.
Yeah.
You just read the ayah just in a natural voice without any tone. I like that. That's another thing.
I know what you mean.
I remember once Mullah Tariq Jamil, he actually came to our madrasa and he led the Maghrib Salat and he read the verses of Surah Nazi'at, end of Surah Nazi'at, Antum ashaddu khalqan amis sama. And he's got a totally different tone. He actually really doesn't like this kind of exaggeration in your voice and all that.
Yeah.
He once he said it to us in a talk in our madrasa. He came to our madrasa and he goes, look, someone read before him giving a talk. And he said, you know what? He goes, I know the student read, very nicely, but I don't like this kind of recitation because it just doesn't seem very sort of like true. It doesn't seem very faithful from your heart. You're reciting. You're trying to copy someone. When you're trying to copy someone, you're impressing other people. Like people who copy other people usually are just trying to show other people I can read like him. Yeah, and these qaris out there who like imitate other qaris. Unfortunately, that's what tends to happen, really. But if someone has a natural way, like you got a few out there who've got a natural, they've got their own original tone, like Shatri, Sheikh Shatri.
Yeah,
that's his own
good.
nice tone. That is.
There's one I listen to called Raad al Kurdi. I'm sure you listen to him.
Yeah, he's nice. Yeah.
He's very nice. He's like straightforward. And there's the one that the guy from Dubai Masjid, what's his name? Sheikh Idris Abkar.
Yeah, he's okay.
I like him. He's like a deep kind of.
I like these days in the morning after Fajr, I listen to Dosari, Yasser Dosari.
Okay, mashallah.
Yeah, one of the Haram Imams. His is very, very good. But anyway, going back to what we were saying about that. Actually,
Salah. Have you had any comments?
What do you think about Omar Al-Hashim and others who perhaps use auto-tune, almost sound like they're singing? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's just, I personally, I'm not too much into these kind of, it sounds, when you hear it the first time, it sounds very novelty, I'd say that, but then having this kind of continuous, less people are trying to, make the recitation of the Quran very sort of like musical and all that. I don't know. I'm not too much into that. I like the natural just recitation, the natural voice. I think it has a very powerful impact. And then trying to
it really puts me off, Mufti Saab. Sorry to go back on the subject. Salah, and you know what affects my khushu in Salah? Nasty smell in the masjid. There's nothing more off-putting. Nothing.
Sock smell. The guy in front of you. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And some people I know they've got some medical issues, with their feet.
Yeah.
But when you got a guy who's got these socks and you can tell, bro, like which year did you change them in? Hashtag.
we can smell where you've been, like different places, different continents.
When you go to the airport, you don't even need the stamps on your passport anymore.
Have a whiff.
Figure out, where you've been. So that I totally 100% agree with you. In fact, like not just that cigarette smell. Some people smell of cigarettes. Yeah. There's some cigarettes that smell okay, but there's some that just people smoke so much, and then it's like that burning kind of, it's not even like charcoal smell. I'd rather smell petrol than basically smelling them. They don't realize how bad they smell, and it can put people off.
Yeah.
Then you got like some people who are the ultimate super attar wearer smell. The ultimate
they force it on you, the one that smells like.
Yeah, guys, if you are ultimate super attar wearers, please, for Allah's sake, just put a few drops on. Make as long as you can smell yourself. That's enough.
You don't have to kill the rest of us. Just because you like the smell, that doesn't mean we do.
Exactly. So people don't realize that. People think, it's sunnah to have ittar. How can you not like ittar? Okay, I'm sure the ittar the Prophet ﷺ used to wear. Yeah, if you
smell like what you got on.
You like it. But the ones that you're probably wearing are like some, some I don't know, some no offense, and cheap one, not like a good quality one, and it's probably in the too much you put on or something. And then this is a whole science in itself, and the perfumes are a whole science in itself. Different people, different skin, different sweat. People should use different perfumes with it. You don't just get any perfume and wear it and it's nice on you.
On the subject of smell, Mufti Saab, recently, even though, we take our own prayer mats to the masjid or whatnot, like I've noticed that mosque carpet is a lot cleaner in general, and people are paying a lot more attention to that. I think that's quite important. So if they want their congregation to focus properly, maybe clean the carpets once in a while.
Yeah, I've seen, because we've started our teaching again and so far, so there has to be social distancing, so we have gaps and all that in class and all the protection. So in the prayer, like you see everyone come out with their own mats. Like you see those padded mat guys, the one that come with like half an inch padded mat, thinking, oh, look at that. And you see the next guy is just plain floor, just like a little piece of paper or something. Just praying on a little piece of paper. It's like hard floor. And so, I don't know, I mean, different people like praying on different things. I know some people, like according to the Malikis, one of the opinions of the Malikis is it's disliked to pray Fard Salat on a mat. You should be praying on bare ground. Because the Prophet never prayed, it's never reported that he prayed Fard on a barrier between the earth and him. He prayed nafal on a mat, but it's never, because Masjid Nabawi never had a mat. It was bare ground.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so he, in one of his opinions, he considers it disliked to pray on a mat, to pray on the direct floor. I mean, maybe this is to do with the whole idea of, what they call grounding. It's called grounding, isn't it? Yeah, where you walk barefooted on bare ground.
Yeah, no, I know what you're trying to.
Charged particles in your body get discharged, or something in the ground, neutralizes the effects in your body, calms you down. As apparently, I mean, I don't know how true this is. Maybe someone can correct me. They say that it sort of like helps depression as well. Yeah, they say walking barefoot for a few minutes a day, regularly, it actually on the ground, not on carpet, it helps depression. It kind of gets rid of this. I don't know how true that is. Abdul Hay is saying, damn, I try to imitate Shuraim. His recitation is far from over-exaggerating. It's simple, powerful, and not over the top. Reason why I just fall into this tune is because I memorized by listening to him, and because of that, when I read, I mean, fair play. Yeah, people. I mean, some people just are they're in the tone, right? They can't change it, and that's how they grew up. And that's why I said, not everyone, but it's a lot of people I see who, when they imitate other people, it's just like they're trying to catch. Oh, did you like the recitation? How did you find it? Yeah, did I stretch that word nicely? Did you see how I done that little like flick there? Yeah, that kind of one. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not too much into that kind of stuff yet. And maybe it's Qadis in the Qadis forum. They kind of do these kind of things, and they get a buzz out of having these little like, oh, look at how you done this. Whoa, this was a nice.
Yeah. Other than foul smells, Mufti Saab, is there anything else that distracts you in Salah when you go to a masjid?
That foul smell thing?
Yeah.
The Prophet ﷺ, he actually said this. He said, anyone who's eaten raw onions or garlic should not come near our masjid. Now think about that.
Or if their feet smell worse than garlic and
this is what the scholars say. They say the Prophet wasn't just saying about these two things. Nothing's wrong with garlic and onions. It's because the bad smell. Then he said, because the angels dislike that which humans dislike. So think about that. The angels are actually in tune with human nature. So, you go to the masjid and you smell of garlic. I mean, maybe some people like the smell of garlic. I don't know. Yeah. Not vampires.
In Ramadan, most people smell like pakore when they go to Maghrib Salah. Some things you can't avoid in it. We understand that like that's part and parcel.
You know what? Sorry, Naveed. Yeah, I don't think that's an excuse. I think everyone, if you should be aware of how you smell, right? At least, if your kitchen's open at home, you got open kitchen, you're an Asian family, and you're going to be making very Asian-y food, and it's going to smell onions, fried onions. Have a little perfume bottle with you. Not like Cam says, Darbari jasmine rose.
Cam's got it bang on. The ones Darbari musk.
Those Darbari ones smells. Oh my god. Yeah, the agarbatti ones. Yeah, no way, bro. Yeah.
When you smell like a mandir.
Yeah. So I mean, you think about it. It's like you got how many kind of smells do you have? So you just carry a little perfume with you, a bottle, and then you just put a little bit on. Don't even carry Febreze with you, bro. Carry Febreze with you and spray it on your body. Those those fabric Febreze for your sofa, and trust me, it neutralizes smell. Neutralizes it. It works.
Do you remember, Mufti Sahib, when people used to go to Umrah, they always used to give you this one bottle of attar called Salma or something. It was like a thin little bottle, looked like a sample tester. And you get that. Oh man, that smell.
I totally think that a lot of people do not know the art of perfume. They don't know the art of perfume. For a lot of people, it's just like they heard a hadith, the Prophet says nice perfume, and they think, right, anything which is perfume in the world now, as long as it comes in a bottle, right, that's something that we should use, right? And even if
they're rubbing Avon catalogs on themselves and everything, yeah.
I mean, okay, you don't have to buy Tom Fords all the time. But buy yourself one or two decent perfumes that are nice, neutral smells, and just keep it with you, right? And use that. Something that's in fashion, look at what's in fashion, the smells are in fashion. Just because it's got the word Jannatul Firdaus on it, doesn't mean two splashes of that are going to put you in Jannatul Firdaus. Yeah, Darbar Jasmine. That name is just too much for me, man. This name is like next level.
Funnily enough, a lot of the new, the high end brands, the Gucci's and all of that. All of them are making oud now, and
Sandalwood.
yeah, I don't want to call them Muslim smelling fragrances, but that's kind of what they are, isn't it? Like they smell like what the Arab, Middle Eastern kind of all of that oud, sandalwoody smell.
Like proper oud, like really expensive oud. You can't match that.
Yeah,
it's just too rich. The smell is just so powerful. Like when you smell it, it just goes in your body. It stays there for a long time. I had a friend who actually gave me once. Every friend, everyone has that kind of one friend who gives them like a really good oud in their life. So I used that. Alhamdulillah. You know what? If I had a bit left, and I gifted it to someone.
You've got quite a collection in your office, Mufti Saab. Like you've got like a wall, like a barrier.
For some reason, some people seem to think that Molvis are just craving for perfumes. Pens and perfumes and scarves.
When you say pens, do you mean decent pens like Parkers and stuff, or just normal?
Any sort of pen. Any sort of pen. But it's like new era now. Who uses pens now, man? Everyone's got their phones, and everyone's got like styluses.
Nothing can beat a calligraphy Parker. That was like the best pen in the world.
Loads. I remember once when I was in Pakistan, I said to my parents, I need a Parker pen. They sent me like a whole bag full of Parker pens. I don't know, they must have got it cheap somewhere. Offer. They were a whole bag. So I brought them over, and there was a guy over there who actually had who used to like shave the pens, like carve them. And he said to me, "What do you want to cut a Parker for?" I go, "No, it's fine, it's okay, I don't mind." He goes, "No, don't cut a Parker." Like he knew the value of the Parkers.
Yeah.
And it was for
the
us.
Cream of the crop, man.
£10, £10, one of those kind of Parkers. It wasn't an expensive Parker. It wasn't like Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc one.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Ones, £20,000 ones. Wasn't that kind of friend.
He didn't like you that much.
Yeah, he didn't like that much. They gave me that kind of pen. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I think definitely, when it comes to
other than foul smell, Mufti Saab, is there anything else that you reckon that becomes distracting when somebody goes to like the masjid for congregational prayer? Do you think?
One, this is a controversy. I don't know what you guys think about this here. What do you guys think about kids in the masjid when you're praying salat? Like, what's your sort of like? If you ask me, I don't really like there to be children making noise in a masjid where you're trying to concentrate. That's my own sort of like thing on this. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are gonna say no. They're gonna bring those Turkish pictures of the Turkish mosque with the playground in the background, and okay, by Masjid Nabawi we didn't have a playground in the back of it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it kind of becomes a bit sort of like a trend that no, you got to bring your kids to the mosque. How are they going to learn the deen? There's loads of ways to learn the deen. They don't have to go to the mosque to learn the deen. Yeah.
What's that? What's that line that someone's going to drop on you? If you don't hear the sounds of children playing in the mosque,
I would rather hear the sounds of children screaming in the mosque than screaming in a hospital or something. I don't know. Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is the mosque is not going to fix your child if the environment at home is messed up. You know what I'm saying? It's like if everything's messed up at home between husband and wife, and between what they're watching at home, Netflix or TikTok and that, mosque is not really going to do much for them. Yeah. So I mean, my personal view is I find it very distracting. Yeah, and okay, if it's like kids in the masjid, but as long as at salat time, you teach your children to be calm and relaxed and not make noise, then that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with them attending the masjid. I just have an issue with when you're trying to pray salat and there's like this kid who's always like screaming at another kid, shouting, and you're thinking like these parents who like come for tarawih, for instance, and know their kids are running around disturbing the neighborhood. Yeah, they're running inside the men's area, outside the women's area, playing around cars in the middle of the night, 12 o'clock at night. And neighbors are complaining to the masjid. And you're saying, no, but where are the kids going to learn deen? MashaAllah. Yeah, this is the only place 12 o'clock at night for them to learn the deen, running inside at the mosque.
That's crazy. What about funny patterns on the prayer mats? Does that bother you at all? Do you get affected by any of that?
Those kind of like shaitan, sort of like monkey shapes.
Yeah, them really weird designs.
goat one with the 2 horns and
Baphomet goat, devil worshipping ones.
yeah, I mean those. Wait, so let's just check these out. Bima, mashallah, Bima has donated again to the channel. Bima, you are the man, guys. Check out Bima's channel. Yeah, Bima has too much love for my channel, man. Yeah, we have too much. Bima, I hope you don't wear Darbari Jasmine. Yeah, trust me, you wear Darbari Jasmine. Yeah, I'm gonna divorce you, bro. Yeah, it's over between us.
Who come up with that name? Cam. That's like the best name for any oud. Darbari Jasmine.
Yusuf, mashallah, Sheikh Yusuf Rias is here as well from the US. Ahlan wa sahlan, Sheikh Yusuf Rias, mashallah. Sheikh Yusuf, if you want to come online, I will send you a link and you can come on and you can inshallah talk about your experience in Salat. Mashallah, Sheikh Yusuf is graduated from Egypt, mashallah, Azhar. So, you know, he's got a lot of experience and he's also, you know, originally Latino as well. So, you know, access to a community that we don't really have in the UK. We don't really know much about the Latino community in the US and what kind of challenges they have. Maybe I think what we can do is, Sheikh Yusuf, if you're up for it, maybe we can have a
get him on one day, inshallah.
About, because he does a lot of like grassroots work in America. And you know, I think it's very sort of like important for us to understand the challenges that different communities face that we have. Latino communities are big.
Definitely.
So yeah, Sheikh Yusuf, you're up for it, inshallah. Let me know. Sharif saying no kids until stay learn masjid coolness. More than the kids, self-appointment masjid stewards. Oh yeah, the masjid stewards. Yeah, those are the ones. The what they call them, the bouncers of the masjid. Yeah, the bounce.
Oh, the guys with the high vises.
Yeah, forcing a plastic green hat on your kid. Yeah,
the plastic.
Forward, move forward. Apologies for the spelling, kids.
Amman is notorious for that. Masjid Amana, Birmingham, they're notorious. But I don't blame them because, you know, for Taraweeh, there's that many. I've never seen so many children at a masjid than in Amana Masjid. Yeah. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, like you say, Mufti.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against kids going to the masjid. Before you guys put fatwas on me, yeah?
No,
I start saying, what kind of Molvi is this, by? So, I mean, I don't have kids myself. Maybe that's one of the kind of reasons, any. So maybe if I had kids, I'd probably be more sort of like, I've got nephews and nieces, but I think
you'd be less robotic.
Maybe if someone has kids and they can feel like what other parents feel, right? Maybe that's that. Maybe I might be wrong. So yeah. So going back to what you're saying, right? This is another controversial issue here, Nav. Women going to the masjid. Yeah. What's your experience on that?
I've had different experience because I'm the type of person that I've been to so many masjids that belong to all sorts of denominations and stuff like that. I know some masjids are more welcoming than others. I think sometimes, like, your madhab doesn't have really much to do with it. It's more like the people that manage it and what part of the world they come from is what affects. I
totally agree with what you're saying there. I think that point is probably key. Which is people don't understand. It's not about the madhab, the fatwas. I think it's more about the people who are in control of the masjids. I mean, I've experienced
where they come from and their upbringing.
Yeah,
that's the biggest impact I've seen. How a mosque is run. It could be a Hanafi, a Hanbali, Salafi, whatever type of masjid. It depends where the people are from. Like, I've been to Salafi masjids where the men and the women pray in the same hall. Then I've been to Salafi masjids where they pray in almost separate buildings. Same applies with Hanafi masjids and so forth. Mufti Sahab, I've never been to I don't think I have been, but I've been to there's a Maliki kind of place. What was the place? Is in Norwich, where people prayed in the same hall. Like, you know, for us guys, because we've never seen it here, and you're thinking, wow. But to the average layman, if he saw men and women praying in the same hall, they'll be gobsmacked. But knowing that, you know what, it's like a valid position. People have been doing that in the past, so like it's just we've not seen it, so it just comes as shocking. But I think things are improving compared to how they were like 10, 15 years ago. Even there's a lot of madaris that didn't probably facilitate for women now. Same with masjids. At one point, all the women had was a dua room, if that, which was an adjacent house.
Or like, what's that film called? Is it 4 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines? Was it? You know that part where they say that closet.
Yeah.
What was that?
It's a stereotype, but there's an element of truth to
Yeah,
it.
I know what you're saying, and it just sounds a bit like comical, but in reality, it's like, you know, it's a bit like unfair as well in a way, because let's say you got family members, you're traveling somewhere, you can pray,
Mm.
but they've got to pray in the car park. I've experienced that where
Yeah,
I was allowed to pray in the masjid, but family members, they were like, you
yeah,
can't pray. I said, there's so much space in the masjid. Just let us go to one side and
yeah,
pray. They're covered up anyway,
yeah.
right? They're not really fussed. And they say no. It's like, like, oh, the way that they were kind of like handling it was as though they were not clean. They were impure. That's the kind of feeling you get. And
There's been so many incidents, Mufti. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like, people have gone viral because somebody said X, Y, and Z and not allowed somebody's wife or somebody to say something. And sisters have gone public about it, saying that I've had to pray on the street because this masjid wouldn't allow me to pray, even though there was nobody there other than the caretaker.
mm,
It wasn't during Salat time. I'm not breaking any of the rules.
mm,
But people are so programmed the way that they are that no, you can't pray here because this is
mm,
men only.
yeah,
It's like the prayer mats are masculine or something, like they're blue and they have to be pink for the sisters to be able to pray on them. Like, that level of weirdness.
yeah. But maybe some people find it difficult to pray on blue prayer
Yeah.
mats, bro. Yeah,
In
I agree
Al-Aqsa,
with your initial point.
what's it like in Al-Aqsa, Mufti Sahib, in terms of prayer? Like women on one side, men on the other side?
In Masjid Aqsa, yeah, I'll tell you something. Masjid Aqsa is a massive place here.
Yeah.
So there's so many entrances. I think there's about 7 entrances that, there are women coming in, men going in. The women usually pray at the back of the when they're praying the Qibli Masjid, like that main sort of grey dome one.
Yeah, yeah.
The women at the back, they've got this section there, and they've got this kind of like cladding, right? Sort of like
Yeah. Almost
kind
like
of
a divider, but not quite. I know
Divider.
what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
They got that there, and then the women pray there, and there's not that many of them anyway. There's only about maybe about 5 or 6 rows. A lot of them are foreigners that come, but the men at the front, and there's not that many people that come to the masjid anyway compared to the size of the masjid.
Mm.
It's like one saf is like central mosque is
Yeah.
like 2 central mosques side to side, the width.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That's what
So it's massive anyway.
So
Yeah.
no, 2 or 3 safs you'll get.
Yeah.
So I think there's a very important difference you made at the beginning, and I like that point that you made, which was there's a difference between the fatwa, the madhab position, and between management of masjids. Yeah, and a lot of people conflate the two. So sometimes what happens is there might be a fatwa. That fatwa does not mean that it's Islamically wrong. It's just there's some scholar somewhere in history who had a position regarding women entering a masjid. Maybe it was to do with his time. Yeah, and that worked for a lot of places, and people were happy with it. And then when it comes to, for example, like now we're living in a society where women are working, women are having to go out, right? And in many societies in the past, there wasn't that much need for them to have interaction. They didn't have interaction that much. They were okay staying, in their local community. But now it's like they travel. So you got like, services in these service stations where you can pray Salat there as well, or even some big masjid. I personally think that whether a masjid allows women to pray or not is a separate thing. But I think every masjid should have a facility for women. They should have a facility.
Definitely.
If they want to hold a position that they believe, they're taking the fatwa that it's disliked for women to attend the masjid, that's fine. But they shouldn't build the masjid around that. Because public things should always, like, if you got an A&D, right? I think if you got an A&D and, there's someone who's coming with like drinking problems, you're not going to say, well, I'm not going to treat you because you're drunk. Why did you drink for? Yeah. And obviously this is not a good analogy to make, but the point I'm making is that when it comes to public services, there should be more leniency than when it comes to like fatwa. Fatwa is basically the opinion of a particular individual, particular time. There's so many factors that are to take into account. But when it comes,
even what you said there, Mufti Sahib, sorry to interrupt you, but that generally it applies to congregational prayer anyway. It doesn't mean to say, like you're saying, the masjid shouldn't be built around that. Okay, you've got a rule for the salah time. Okay, you want only brothers to be part of that. Okay, people might differ, etc. But when making the masjid, they should always facilitate a space for the woman.
Yeah,
it's not for congregational prayer, but she still needs a space in the masjid.
Amin is asking about people with special needs. I think that's a very valid point. Now,
100%.
we're only now realizing about how far back we are when it comes to catering for society, right? It's like, unfortunately, this is the problem that we have. We have many of these slogans, for example, like, oh, subhanAllah, look how amazing Islam is. it's catering for everyone, and amazing. Islam is so facilitating, and Islam is so much ease, and all these cliche slogans that we have. But then when it comes to practically, can I just like 24 hours just live in your community? Can I just see how the Islam that you're showing in your Facebook and your social media is so facilitating? And then you go to the masjids, and there are so many problems we have in our masjid. I'm not blaming the masjid committee per se only. The problem is everyone, yeah. So you got things like facilities for women, all right? Okay, you got disabled access, right? So you got some masjids where it's like a renovated house. Now clearly you cannot get a wheelchair in there, right? It's not going to be practical, right? Maybe they obviously when they initially set up the masjid, they didn't have the right funds, so they just bought a house and they fixed it. But then when you got the same house for years and years and years and still don't provide facility, yeah, that's a bit problematic, I think. So I think that, and then when it comes 100%. To toilet facilities, toilet facilities need to be something which is sorted out, man. A lot of masjid have problems with toilet facilities, and there's like basic things that you can do. Go to any sort of company, right, where they have public toilets, and you'll see how clean they keep them. They have a janitor, caretaker. You go in there, you go Tesco's toilets or you go Asda toilets. You're not going to smell bad things like you probably smell in a lot of, unfortunately, our masjid toilets, right? And maybe one of the reasons is because a lot of people are just like voluntarily building the toilets in the masjids. Some guy will say, you know what, I've got experience in building toilets. You know what, I'll give it a go, right? And they haven't worked out the right ventilation. They haven't worked out the right, even like having a simple thing like air freshener, automatic air freshener in a toilet with some, not jasmine darbari, not darbari jasmine, bro. Please have something else which is,
Cam, you're the winner for that one. That's like the quote of the day, Darbari Jasmine.
That's going to become the meme.
Can you rename the podcast, Mufti Saab, to Darbari Jasmine?
Darbari Jasmine, yeah, bro. You got that. So yeah, I think, maybe it might be a good idea to have a podcast on the state of masjids in the UK, right? And we can bring maybe some people who are involved with masjids to look at their side. Definitely, we need to look at the point of the management of the masjid, what challenges they face and we can't see, that we're blind to. Yeah,
especially now with the financial restraint, because a lot of them probably did depend on Jummah collection and stuff like that. So obviously these resources are not available anymore. So
yeah, definitely. I think that's really kind of important to highlight these like. But yeah, so I think these kind of things like women facilities are things that we are quite behind on, and we need to kind of sort that out, right? And then
generally, Jamia masjids have these facilities, don't they, Mufti Saab? Jamia masjids, anyway. Generally speaking,
the main ones, the main ones are Birmingham, but I'm not sure if that's the case in everywhere. Yeah, I'm not too sure if that's the case everywhere. So okay, let's just see this. The management administrators of masjids have a huge effect on the environment of the masjid, sometimes almost to a degree that you feel own the masjid. Yeah, I mean, see that's also okay. What do you think in terms of calling out these masjids? For example, I went to the masjid that didn't allow women to pray. Shouldn't we say the names? See, the problem is, the only problem I have with calling out, like kind of like culture, it's easy to kind of criticize someone if you're ignorant of all the all the problems they have. If a person is fully aware of all the problems and then criticizes, then I respect that person. I'll say, okay, I'll listen to this person. But if a person only knows a few, like, armchair critic, only knows a few issues and is like, making analogy based on those. And then I think that's unfair, that is. Because a lot of people in the masjid work very hard to try and run a masjid. And they're doing it
voluntarily. And to be fair, Mufti Saab, even though, like, we'd probably strongly disagree with it, but if there is a caretaker that takes care of the masjid in the daytime, and he's under strict instruction saying, oh, don't allow anybody that fits X, Y, and Z description and whatever, and he's like Sadaja, and like all his life he's just been, doing the same thing. And he's just following orders at the end of the day. He doesn't make the decision. So sometimes we might hold someone accountable to, like, even though if the masjid committee might have been there and they might have said, no, allow him in. But because they've just been very straightforward with the instructions that they've given to this poor Sada individual, he's probably said no. That could have been the case like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because of the blind spots that we have in or short-sightedness that we have in these areas is where people will make a lot of noise and the people on the other side, like, when we had the podcast about charities as well, charity organizations or other things as well, when we kind of like talk about some sort of like flaws, it's like, have we really kind of thoroughly looked at exactly how everything works and then just saw these flaws? Or is it that we only seen these flaws and we haven't seen the benefit that they're trying to produce? Yes, there's obviously room for improvement. Definitely, I totally agree. Room for improvement.
Maybe Mufti Saab, maybe you go to a small masjid. Maybe they go to a small masjid and they don't have a place for sisters, because literally around the corner there's a massive Jamia masjid that facilitate for women. Sometimes these are the reasons why they don't facilitate for women, because they built like about 40 odd years ago. Another masjids come, they've managed to get more funding and they've got a place for sisters. So rather than, trying to do something that they're not financially capable of, they just signpost people to the other masjid. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Yeah, definitely. Tahmid saying, I have yet to smell an attar that smells worse than badly maintained toilet facilities. Allahu Akbar. Darbar Jasmine. Imagine Darbar Jasmine in the toilet, bro. Yeah, that's it, man. There's like, you got next level smells coming out there.
Bro, we've been talking about a lot, Mufti Saab, about things that put us off. What would be your, like, if you were to not summarize it, but what are the easy wins of trying to get khushu in salah, other than like
a good one. Let me tell you my experience here. I'm not going to quote verses of the Quran to you. I'm not going to quote Sunnah to you.
Tell us what's tried and tested for yourself.
I'm going to tell you what's tried and tested. Yeah. When it comes to Salat, I think the most important thing I personally experience when it comes to Salat is healthy mind, healthy body. This makes 80% of your khushu in Salat, I think, is from healthy mind, healthy. And when I mean healthy mind, healthy body, what I mean is your body has to be healthy intake. Whatever you eat, if you observe a healthy diet, right, for a week or two, and you pray Salat, you will guaranteed feel different in your Salat. It has to have an effect on your Salat. Yeah, because your eating habits has an effect on how you behave. So I think the eating is very important, right? The second thing I think which is important as well is the issue of mind as well. Mind is very important. If someone is going through depression in life, you have no right to say to that person, pray Salat, everything will go okay. It doesn't work like that. Salat is not like this magical sort of like wand where you just wave it and then everything gets better. Salat is something you build, you kind of work towards it. It's a continuous, it's like, every single day you have this task of, building a tower of cards. You build it and then end of the day it falls. And next day you got to build it again and then it falls. It's not something like you prayed 5 years of Salat and therefore all your Salats today are going to be really good. No. There might be a person who's going through financial problems. Yeah, their Salat, only Allah knows the concentration that the person that has in Salat. A person that might be going through marital problems, children problems, a person going through, all these things. In fact, let me tell you, Umar radiallahu anhu, you know what he said once? He said, I think this is a very pertinent point. When we hear about the lives of Sahaba and we don't hear about the more human side of their life, right? What tends to happen is we just think that they're superheroes, right? Yeah. And then we can never reach their level. And then we just kind of lose hope in trying to, aspire towards them. So Umar radiallahu anhu said, listen to this. He goes, I sometimes am in Salat and in my mind, I am figuring out how to organize the army in Salat. Now you tell me, someone who is trying to organize the army in Salat, is he going to be concentrating on his Salat? No. Umar, he didn't get time because he was so preoccupied some occasions. Like we hear the story about the woman, who single mother. Yeah. You think about Umar's Salat when he started crying and crying and crying in that Salat. How is Umar going to answer to Allah on the Day of Judgment when there's this woman in his community who doesn't have enough money for her children and has to try and mislead them that she's cooking something for the kids? So Umar in his Salat, he's even saying that, look, sometimes I'm so preoccupied with the outside of my life that it affects my Salat. I'm thinking about how am I going to organize this? So sometimes, I think it's unfair for us to kind of say, to people, oh, you don't have khushu in your Salat. You need to have khushu in your Salat. And they're trying their best to get khushu in. They're trying their best to pray Salat, first of all. There's some people out there who are just trying to pray the 5 times Salat. That's a big thing for them. Yeah, and I think that is the thing that the Sahaba were amazing in. They understood the balance. Like I'll give you an example. I said I'm not going to quote hadith, but okay, I'll quote a hadith. Yeah. So the Prophet
You being a mufti and quoting hadith. Whoa. Allah.
Bro, now you quote me today. Too many things for us. Time to pull out the Darbari jasmine. Yeah, fragrant the room. You know, let me tell you what happened. You know, in Pakistan,
You put Atara like this, by the way.
When yeah, this and then like this, and so there was, you got on the buses, yeah, and they used to be that these little kids that used to get on. They used to sell all these little funny kind of things from China. Like, it was weird kind of little things. They used to get on the bus.
Yeah.
And they had this amazing way of selling things. They go, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My brothers and sisters, let me tell you what I have over here. Only for 5 rupees, I'm going to show you something that no one else has probably going to provide for you for this price. And then like some strange thing, but the way he like explains it, it's like you need to get it. And they had a perfume and say, look, I want to put this perfume on this handkerchief, smell it, and they like, wave you around and like everyone's saying, give me one. It's only 5 rupees. Give me one. And then after you buy, you think, what have I done? I could have bought this, anytime. There's nothing special. But the way that the kind of guy kind of like sells it to you. So anyway, going back. So the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said this. He says that when food is presented, right, and Isha prayer comes, eat the food first, then pray Isha. And Ibn Umar, under this hadith, Ibn Umar used to say, sometimes I hear the Imam in the masjid reciting whilst I'm eating my food. Now, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he actually says, under this statement, he says, لأن يكون الطعام كله صلاة خيرا من أن يكون صلاتي كله طعام. He says, for my food to become my salat is more preferred by me than my salat becoming my food. I would rather eat food thinking about I have to pray than praying salat thinking about what I'm going to eat.
100%.
Now you see, I think that mindset is very
profound. Yeah, it's profound.
And under this hadith, like Sheikh Yusuf Banori in his Ma'arif al-Sunan, he says under this statement, he says what this fuqaha were alluding towards was that humans' nature, humans' needs are more important, should be prioritized when it comes to the time of salat. Yeah, they should fulfill those and then pray. So examples like eating or going toilet. You're desperate to go toilet.
You ain't gonna concentrate. No chance if you need the toilet.
He said it's wrong for a person to pray their salat whilst they're desperate to go toilet.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to concentrate? What point you're just doing the salat in that case just to tick off the boxes. You done your Isha? Yeah, I done my Isha. But did you do it with concentration? Well, not really. But that's not really important, is it? As long as I done my Isha, as long as I got my 6 fards, or as long as I got my qira'ah in there and I got my Fatiha in there and I got my this. So I think understanding a nice balance of Sahaba Salat, I think that would be a good thing. Maybe that would be another thing to think about, the balance Sahaba had in Deen. So when we hear generally about Sahaba, we always hear about the ambitious sort of like amazing things they did, Shahada in the battlefield and the angels, visiting them and all these kind of things, which we can't reach. But then we don't think about Sahabas. How many Sahabas used to pray their Salat and they didn't get that buzz at their Salat? There must have been incidents.
There's one narration Mufti Sahab I still remember from the top of my head. I used to always think, wow, look at the concentration. Like one day I hope my salah is like this. But over the years, I've realized that it wasn't for me. It's just that particular individual that could do it. Even though, would love to be like those, I think it's Abdullah ibn Zubair, but they say when he used to pray his Nawafil Salah, birds used to come and sit on him and fly off. And he's still in ruku and sujood. You think that, I'm going to be like that. But it's difficult for us as well. We're not built the same way.
Exactly. I mean, again, was that his salat every single salat? Or was that one of salat someone saw and then they told people?
This is it.
So I think when it comes to, we need to be realistic about our salat. And like I said, 2 things are more important: your health and your mind. Yeah. So mind, I would say, look, if you got something on your mind, clear it up, right? Sort it out. You got work. Have a to-do list. You got things to do. Put it in your to-do list. Don't let that preoccupy your thoughts. The other thing I think is very important when it comes to salat is like this. When I pray and I want to get khushu, what I tend to do is just breathe out, relax all my body, Like, like let your stomach go out, let your six pack disappear. Yeah, let the real stomach come out.
My
Yeah,
family
breathe
pack.
out all the way from your stomach, and just like be as calm as you can. Relax. Your limbs are just like, just dropping. You're standing in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Your head's down,
Mm.
and when you start to just like kind of like do that, it sounds a bit like yoga, if you think about it. But that breathing exercises that you do, that concentration, that kind of like
Yeah.
that's what happens when you pray your salat and you pray the nafil before your salat. What's one of the benefits of nafil and sunnahs is it kind of like gets the body used to calmness.
It gears you up or
Gears
gears you down.
It's like shaking. It's like the
Yeah.
snowball shaking effect. You're calming down. You're calming down. Eventually, that salat you pray after you prayed some sunnah, it's not the same as a salat you just rushed in, parked your car on the side, quickly ran in the mosque. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited people from running towards salat. He said, "La ta'tu salata wa antum tas'un," because don't run to salat. He goes, calm. If you get the rakat, you get it. If you miss the rakat, just make it up. Look how he says
You
it.
always see people get to the door, yeah, they're like, but they'll march steadily, yeah, like they don't want to, they know about the hadith, so they won't run to the salah. But when they see the imam just about to go down, oh, then we're going to have to start running. In case I have to pray the extra
It
rakat.
happens. I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes as well. Like you're thinking, you know what, I can just make it, man. I can just make it. Let me just take these 2 quick steps. But there's a wisdom behind this. It's like the Prophet is showing people, look, your salat needs quality. You need to put effort in your salat, right?
Mm.
Like Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, when he explained salat, he said, salat is like, the example of praying salat in front of Allah is like a person who goes to a king and has a cage with a bird in there as a gift. So you're going to this king and you got this cage and you got this bird in there, and the bird's chirping and flapping its wings and it's jumping up and down and it's beautiful cage, and you're presenting it to the king. The king's going to accept it. And he goes, but if you have a dead bird in a cage and you bring it and you give it to the king, what's the king going to say? Yeah, he's just going to laugh at you. So he said, similar is with our salat. He goes, when you pray your salat, he goes, your ruku has a position like the bird, and the sujood and the calmness that you have, and all of these different sort of like postures in your salat, all of them have an effect on you, and it's like you're trying your best to present to Allah a gift. This is what you're trying to do. You're begging Allah, please, Ya Allah, this is my gift. And if your gift into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something which you're thinking about, oh, who's just texted me now? I can feel the vibration. Yeah, I wonder who's ringing me over there. Or how come so-and-so hasn't texted me? And your mind is like everywhere, and your TV's on in the corner of the room, and you can hear, the latest on BBC News. And then you got like pictures of your kids on the side of the walls or distracting.
Mm.
Yeah. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, let me tell you this, the Prophet ﷺ once, someone told him, when you have guests that come to visit, right? He said, why don't you get yourself like a nice robe that you wear just for that occasion? Like, when some important comes, like that. And he goes, okay. So he bought one. And this is Abu Dawud narration. And he prayed his salat. And after he prayed, took it off. He goes to someone, yeah, you take it. He said, why? He goes, because I was praying my salat. He said, I got distracted in my clothes more than my salat. I was praying and I started looking at my clothes. If that's going to distract me from my salat, I don't need these clothes. And the word that he used was, my clothes are fitna for me. Yeah, it's a test for me. It's a tribulation. So you think about it yourself now. How many times maybe, you've been praying and you've been like amazed by something. Your socks even. Oh, look at my socks. Look how the shape of my foot looks so nice. This way. Look at my trousers. Look at the way that the trousers crease here. Yeah, look at my dress.
I think a bad trait a lot of people have, Mufti Sahib, like, especially when you're praying in the masjid. Sometimes if you're wearing black trousers or black jeans or something like that, you're going to get like dust particles or something like that. In the salah, you're there, you're praying, and they start flicking and start cleaning their kapre during the salah. I've seen a lot of people do that.
Yeah. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he actually prohibited people from like presenting themselves in salat in a very rough kind of way. Like he said, none of you should roll up your trousers in the sense like, like you look rough, like you would never walk around the streets with the trousers rolled up like that.
Yeah.
How dare you kind of like wear clothing in salat that you'd never be seen dead outside in public with your mates? Because that's what salat is, isn't it? You're presenting yourself in your best form to Almighty Allah. Now, if you're going to wake up in the morning with your night clothes on and you're going to stand in front of Allah and you're just going to, it's like, well, you'd never do that with your mates. Your mates came down your house, quickly put jubba on, put your nice jump on, put this on, put some perfume on as well. Not darbar, yeah, not DJ. They're barges, man. Yeah. So this is what Allah says in the Quran, that, you know, when you go for your salat, He says, you know, khudu zinatakum, take your best, like beautification, beautify yourself when you go for your salat. You're standing in front of Almighty Allah. It's worth it on the Day of Judgment. It's going to be worth it, you know. You're getting a fajr and just wearing the clothes that you wear. Have a separate piece of clothing at home. I would say this. Have a separate jubba or a separate thobe, something you'd be okay wearing outside. Have it.
Or by your sisters.
Yeah, and sisters as well, same thing. So, you know, generally, I mean, women take care of themselves more than men do when it comes to how they dress and all that. Yeah. But the same thing would go, like, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, it's different with kind of clothing that they'd wear. You know, I mean, interesting. The Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he'd wear, Aisha radiallahu anha has like shawl, big shawl. He'd wrap it around himself and he'd pray. Yeah, so, you know, that's fine. But the issue would be then, like, the Prophet would be okay with going outside with that. But then would you be okay with going outside in your vest and your, you know, those kind of like half shorts that you'd got some rips in there and you're praying in front of Allah? So, yeah, so I think these kind of things are very important to take into consideration. That's why I said in the beginning, remember, that my teacher said, how you are outside of your salat is how your salat's going to be, and how you are inside your salat is how you're going to live your life.
So, just as a reminder, then, we covered one of the factors that'll affect is your diet. Yeah, then it was your mental state.
Mental state.
You also mentioned the way that you do wudu has an impact. We said that earlier on as well, doesn't it?
Definitely, wudu has an impact.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
It's not like, don't quote me, guys, saying there's hadith for this or there's ayats for this. This is what I'm saying. Like, for example, you know, some tabi'een, what they used to do was they used to say, when we stand in front of Allah, like, we would imagine that the Kaaba is in front of us, and on the right hand side there's Jannah, and the left hand side is Jahannam, and like they're like really kind of like the Prophet said, when you pray your salat, pray as though it's your last prayer on earth. The doctors have told you this is your last prayer. It's end of the world for you now. Yeah, you're gonna die. This is your last prayer now. So imagine that guy. You know, like, you see that picture of that guy who I think it was in Turkey or something. The old, you remember when they were going to kill him, and he asked if he can pray 2 rakats, right? And then you can imagine how much concentration he's going to have in his salat, and how much. Imagine every single one of your salats was like that. That you knew this is my last isha now. That's it now. I'm not going to get up fajr. You're going to have that so much. So you have to, like I said in the beginning, it's like building the house of cards. You're trying your best to build it without making an error, and then you make a little error and everything falls down. Yeah, your sins, you commit some sins outside, khalas. That peace in the salat that you were working on has disappeared now. You got to start again. You got to make that effort again. And that's why Allah calls in the salat, in the Quran, He calls it aqimus salat, establish your prayer, some say. Because the word iqama is actually from the word, like a walking, have you ever seen a walking stick? Yeah, have you ever thought why walking sticks, you don't find straight wood like that on trees? You never find a straight wood. Because what they do is when they break it off the tree, they bend it over fire and they straighten. This is called in Arabic iqamatul ud. They call this iqamatul ud, straightening of the stick. So some of the mufassirin say maybe this is where Allah is referencing aqamus salat. You have to put yourself on the fire and bend yourself. Salat is like this fire 5 times a day. It's like you're testing your 5 test points in your day. MOT test, you can say.
Mufti Sahib, I can't help it. I have to do the impression. My brother Hablas from Australia. My brother, pray. Even if you're sinful, pray. You got a girlfriend, pray. You got a boyfriend, brother, pray. Because you pray because you're sinful. And I'll tell you one thing, Mufti Sahib. That video might be very simple, yeah. It's only 2-3 minutes long. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Muhammad Hablas, just type in pray and it'll come up. And he makes a very valid point in that video. Very simple video. And he goes, we pray to get closer to Allah. We don't pray because we're impure or stuff like that. The whole you want Allah to come towards you, so you're taking that little step towards Him. Somebody, I can't remember, somebody worded it in a very very basic way, and it made a lot of sense, because you want God to talk to you, you read the Quran. And if you want to talk to God, you read your namaz. Don't you want to have a conversation with God? And then it's just something so simple, but for some people, Mufti Sahib, there's and we were in this position when I wasn't always praying. So people always have excuse. My clothes are palit. That's a common one. I'm like, bro, what were you doing for your clothes to be palit, bro? I was with you all day. How are your clothes palit?
That's Altaf's favorite one.
Palit. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I'll give you an example. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there's a hadith where the Sheikh Yusuf bin Oni mentions this in his Ma'rif Sunan. He says there was a guy who came to the Prophet ﷺ, Sahabi, he's a Bedouin, and he said, "I'm just going to pray 2 salat. That's it. I don't care. I'm just going to pray Fajr and Asr. That's it." The Prophet says, "Okay, just pray Fajr and Asr. Go on. It's fine." Sahaba's thinking like, "What's this? 5 salats?" So the commentators, in answer to this, said maybe the Prophet ﷺ said let him pray 2 because if this guy prays 2, right, he's going to love it so much that he will end up praying 5 anyway. Some people, you just have to encourage them, just pray 1 salat then. Okay, you know what? You know that 1 Jummah you do, just carry on doing that 1 Jummah. But you know what? Just add another salat. And I personally think that a lot of people, maybe they don't pray, I think because they haven't really kind of had the experience of what salat really can do for them.
Yeah.
They can't feel that salat yet. Maybe if they can get it with 1 salat. I know a guy, and he will pray Fajr. Every single day he'll pray his Fajr. Yeah. But won't pray the other salats. Maybe that's, maybe later on he'll start praying his Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. Yeah. Who knows? Something to kind of like think about. That some people, what they're going through in life. Yeah, some people going through problems, like I said, depression, anxiety, and other things. Yeah. It kind of makes a person sort of like, it demoralizes them from a lot of things, especially when it comes to trying to pray as well. They just can't do it.
Yeah, and there are a lot more harsher hadith that you can quote, which I know you aren't going to do, Mufti Saab, but
yeah,
Salah's very important, isn't it?
Praying is definitely important, without a doubt. I would say 100%. You know what? You cannot really benefit from the full faith until you pray 5 times Salat. You must. But what I'm saying is, at the same time, is if you've got family members who are not praying, don't belittle them. Like, don't think to yourself, you know what? I pray my 5 times Salat. I'm better than them. Yeah, Allah only knows. Yeah, if Allah is the one that will forgive them if He wants. If He wants to forgive someone because not praying, like they say, Allah Malik. Yeah, Allah Ghafur Rahim. But we ourselves should always aspire to pray 5 times Salat. 5 times Salat is something which gives you amazing access to Allah's treasures. And as a Muslim, it's like if a non-Muslim asks us, okay, you're a Muslim, yeah? He goes, yeah. So what do you do to show you're a Muslim? Like what is the kind of thing that you do which is Muslimic? What do you do? And you go, I just like fasted Ramadan, bro. Yeah. And they say, okay, but what about your daily prayer? Oh, I don't do that. And then it doesn't make sense to a non-Muslim. You don't pray your 5 times prayer. You're a Muslim, you don't pray 5 times prayer. Okay. So you want to convince me your faith is okay. So I should just believe there's a God. Is that okay? As long as I believe there's a God, I don't have to do anything else. So prayer, definitely. 5 times prayer. The Prophet ﷺ, mentioned, emphasized about the fact the one who doesn't pray. In some hadith, he's even said, one who doesn't pray, the border between salat and faith is prayer. That's the border. That's like the line, the last line. That's like the main. That's like the most minimum thing that you have to do to be counted as being a proper Muslim. Yeah, that's like the minimum thing. And again, just pray whatever way you can pray. Just try your best to pray and ask Allah for tawfiq.
Brother, pray. You don't wear hijab? Pray. Brother, I hope you're not wearing hijab, but you pray.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a very good.
I love that Hoblos video. You need. I'm sure you heard it, Mufti Saab.
I probably heard. I probably heard like some snippets of it.
Yeah, I sent it to loads of people, and I remember like just general kind of like my friends are probably not quote unquote practicing or whatnot, and to say, yeah, man, the way he said it. Sometimes the right person needs to say it to him as well, and it needs to be said in the right method. A lot of the time, imagine, and it's a common thing that like Allah save me from it. Maybe I was like this at one time where I'm probably the person that's praying in my household and somebody isn't praying, and I'm all the time banging on, oh, bro, you don't pray, you're not a proper Muslim, and that turns them to the opposite even more. So you do more damage, but then some other Tom, Dick, and Harry comes along. He might not look as Islamic as somebody like you or me or whatnot, and he just says, "Oh, bro, I'm about to pray. You want to come?" And they'll start praying because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So even the way you advise people, it makes a big impact.
I think some people just need a push. Some people out there, they'll be okay. It's just like like some people. Obviously, not a good example to give, but it's like things like exercise and going to the gym and stuff like that. Some people are not into it. You give them a push. Once they get into the routine of it, they'll do it. Yeah, they'll do it. You have to remember, Salat is not going to get you the best job in the world. Salat is not going to get you the best husband or wife. Salat is not going to get you that nice, beautiful house or that nice, beautiful car, or that nice watch. It's not going to get you that. In fact, you praying salat will not mean that you're going to have a nice death. And you're not going to get these, horrible illnesses. No, it doesn't mean that. So if you're pinning all your success, this outwardly worldly success, on salat, you need to clear that up. That's not true. Salat is simply an obligation from Allah. There are many benefits from salat, but we need to get it clear that salat is not going to, some people say, oh, the reason why this particular country is being oppressed by the government or by this, because they don't pray salat. And if they all start to pray their salat, Allah will change everything. Who knows? What if it's something else? Why are you guessing for? Yeah. So I think there's a lot of abuse of judgment people are doing out there against people. I remember once, there was actually a guy who actually used to, he never used to pray. Yeah, the guy never used to pray. And then what happened was, with this individual, he had a family member actually died because of cancer. And because of that, the guy started praying. Yeah. And since that day, the guy hasn't stopped praying. So this is this kind of individual, I'm not going to say his name, but this kind of individual and other people like this individual can probably understand it. It's like salat for many people, it really makes sense when they're going through bad times. You're going through bad times. That's when people start, what should I do? What should I do? I've started praying salat as well. I've started praying salat. It's like the emergency kind of, your pack. You opened your emergency pack and one of the things it said was like, start praying salat. It's like people are naturally inclined towards getting back to Allah in times of calamity. But that's not enough. It's like, why weren't you doing this when you were in the times of ease? You got to have the times of ease and times of difficulty as well. So you got to keep it up. So in the Quran, Allah says, إِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ Salat is burdensome except upon people who are humble. People who humble themselves will not find salat burdensome.
I'm going to ask you a slightly different question. Might be more difficult. For somebody that is practicing, and I'm sure there's a lot of people probably watching the podcast or they're going to listen to it later or whatnot, that have got family members that probably don't pray 5 times a day, etc. What is the best way to try and approach them? And how would you, especially if they're not taken seriously or they might differ with them or in the way that they practice, somebody's family might be, following one particular thing and they totally disregard what their son or their daughter might say because they follow something else. I know it's a very broad question, Mufti Saab, but what would be the early stepping stones? Like where would a person start?
It's a tough one because I know some people, I've known some people in the past who actually used to say, if your family doesn't, if your mother doesn't pray salat, don't eat her food. Yeah. And they would say things like, obviously they're wrong. Exactly. They're wrong what they're saying.
Yeah.
But they thought they were doing right. They thought if you don't eat your mother's food, it'll make her it's like a silent protest you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it'll make her feel bad. And then she'll ask, well, why are you not eating? And then you tell her, look, you don't pray your salat, and how can I eat your food? So this is not from a Islamic point of view, this is incorrect. This is because your mother and your father have more right over you than anything, even if they don't pray, even if the Quran says, even if they're non-Muslims, you have to treat them well. Yeah, you have to be good to them. And the only time that you don't listen to them is when they tell you to do something which is against the instructions of Allah. So again, I think when it comes to these kind of the way that people treat their families, end of the day, I think salat should not be a measure of how you judge people. Salat should be a measure of how Allah judges people. Allah judges them. If you're going to use salat as a measure of how you judge, some people, for example, they go for proposals and they're looking for someone who, prays all their salats on time. You're not going to get someone who's going to be. If someone prays all their salats on time, a day could come when they stop praying salat. Yeah, as long as they fulfill the criteria of, if I'm looking for a spouse and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to look for someone who at least prays 5 times a day. Whether they pray tahajjud or awabin or all these other prayers, that's up to them. But I'm looking for someone who prays 5. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, that's a good thing. But to think just because they pray 5 times a day that your marriage is going to be like perfect marriage, no arguing, no squabbling, no fighting, that's what I'm saying to you. Salat is not the measure of the worldly success that we imagine. Salat has its own قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ success. That's for the hereafter success. That's for the success in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think, it is that we have to be very, especially with our youth nowadays and our generation that we've got to be very careful with them. How do you deal with them? I've seen some parents who are so harsh on their children when it comes to telling them to pray. They don't pray with wudu. They don't pray with wudu. I know some individuals who actually said that to me, that when they were young, they didn't pray with wudu because the parents used to force them. They didn't like it. And they actually felt sick of praying salat. They used to have this like negative emotion every time they think of salat.
Would they almost pretend to pray, basically?
Pretend to pray, yeah. It's like that kind of, I'm going to go Taraweeh, forget this, let's go at the back smoke. Yeah. Let's go play some games in someone's house. Let's do this. So it's like, I think you got to be very careful. I mean, I don't know. That's my own sort of take on this. Maybe other people would have other things to say. I don't know about yourself. What do you see?
To be honest with you, Mufti Saab, like I said, I'm not in a position to advise other people about how to pray properly. In terms of telling people,
but you must
I
have
think
your
naturally, if you're reading your salah properly, it's going to improve your general character, the way your attitude is towards other people, and hopefully that might incline people to soften their hearts and actually take on board what you're saying and maybe start praying. Don't lecture them about praying salah. You pray salah. You make sure your character's improving, and you're tying up all these other loose ends, that they see that the foundation of everything that this person is doing, one of them is salah. So if I want to improve myself, I need to start praying as well. That's what I've seen that's worked with other people, possibly.
Yeah, makes sense. I agree. I think that is basically, I think, I mean, I understand where you have certain situations where in the past, for example, certain Islamic governments would impose salat on the people, make them close their shops, and so even nowadays in Saudi, you go to some places, it's strange. They have to close their shop, but you see them inside sitting there.
We saw it ourselves. If we were late for salat, the guys there shut us down. You're smoking a fag there.
Yeah. And it's you're thinking to yourself, I mean, what's happening here? Is it people have lost the whole concept of sincerity, about doing it for Allah's sake? Someone's asked a question, are we obliged to tell our family members to pray? If the only obligation that you have to tell is if you're a father or a mother and your young children, the Prophet ﷺ says at the age of 7, you should train them in salat. And then if they reach the age of 10 and they're not praying, you discipline them. Once they reach the age of puberty, you encourage them, but you can't force them. So, I mean, it's like that kind of situation where you just say, look, have you prayed your salat? Pray your salat, man. You have to kind of treat it that. I think, you see, what tends to happen is people, when they come to this, I don't have children, so obviously I'm not the best person to kind of give advice on this. But from my own sort of experience with other people, if you are regimental in how you bring up your children, or anyone in that case, and you don't allow them to make mistakes, right? That has an adverse effect in how they see the religion. But if you allow them, for example, Imam Ghazali, I remember reading this somewhere. I can't remember where I read it. I read it in side of a book somewhere. Imam Ghazali say, if you got children, you tell them once to do something. If they don't do the second time, make sure you've noticed that they haven't done it. But don't tell them off. Because if you keep telling them off, they become desensitized to your telling off. And they won't do it.
Makes sense.
But just make them realize that, you're aware that they haven't done it. And they feel inside that guilt. They have to create inside themselves this sort of feeling that, they've done wrong. So what we tend to do with telling people off is we tell them off so much that we make them into closed circuit. What is that? Robot.
Short circuit. Johnny 5.
Yeah, Johnny 5. We make it a Johnny 5 kind of robot. It's pray salat. And then they run and pray the salat. Pray salat. Pray salat. And it's when you don't say that, are they going to go to the salat, or are they waiting for you to command them? You got to let them reach a level where now they feel the responsibility. And you know what? My dad hasn't told me about salat, but I need to. Yeah. So Valerie's saying yes, she agrees. Cam is saying we need to remember that salat is for us. Yeah, definitely, salat is for us. It's our obligation. it's what makes us Muslim, and definitely the success. Allah has placed success in salat without a doubt. There's no shak. Yeah. So anyway, I think we should finish there. I enjoyed this.
Yeah,
This one.
alhamdulillah. It was just a Q&A session of you and me basically today. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and if anyone does want to join our podcast in the future, let us know, inshallah. I mean, some people might not be, might be a bit camera shy, not be confident enough to maybe come. That's fine. And if you don't want to show your face as well, yeah, we're okay with that as well. As long as
And guys, if I'm not just doing lip service. If anybody doesn't know how to pray and they need some help and tips and stuff, like feel free to message us. I'm sure we don't mind sending you some video links and stuff like that. We'll meet you in person.
Inshallah, we will try to help you as much as we can. And we should never ever think to ourselves that, you know what, I haven't prayed my life here. Why? How can I start praying now? No, never think that. Allah, if Allah is your creator, and He was your creator before you were born, and He was your creator for all those years you didn't pray, and He's your creator today as well. Yeah, and Allah appreciates your efforts. So just go for it.
You can't have this low expectation of Allah. Like you haven't understood Allah if you hold Him with that kind of expectation. I don't know if that makes sense, but
definitely. And the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah says, I am with my servant as he thinks of me. I am according to how he thinks. So if he thinks of me as being someone who will forgive his sins, Allah forgives sins. And if he comes to me walking, I come to him running. So this shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, salat will definitely have an amazing effect on your life. Right? Never underestimate salat. But you have to remember, you have to build your salat. You got to continuously make this, difficult sort of like choice of compromising some of your own daily chores and things to make space for salat. Anyway, I think that's that.
Come to a natural end now, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, jazakallah khair, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Nav's top as well for the nice the ambience that's created.
Alhamdulillah. Guys, suggest some topics as well. There's another thing I wanted to quickly mention. If there's something that you think that you feel, that impacts your life a lot, and you think that, we might do a little bit of justice to the topic, suggest it, put it on the comments, inshallah, and we'll try and cover it.
Yeah, and a lot of you guys have mentioned some good topics. I think a lot of you guys have mentioned some good topics, and I really, really appreciate your. And in reality, it's the podcast is here for improvement. We're trying to improve. We're trying to, benefit people as much as we can. We're not perfect people ourselves. I mean, we miss our salats now and again, for whatever reason it is, and we ask Allah forgiveness, and we try to make them up. And we have, insincerity sometimes in our prayer and other things as well. But I think the main thing is, like, once there was a scholar, Sheikh Ashraf Ali Tanwi, someone said to him that, what do you do when the Quran says to you that, why do you speak about those things that you don't practice yourself? Yeah. And he said, this does not mean that if you're not doing something, like, if you're not doing something, that you shouldn't encourage people to do it, or if you are involved in something wrong, that you should not discourage people from doing it because you're not practicing what you preach. He goes, no, what you should do is you should do it with the intention that Allah changes you.
Yeah.
So even if you don't pray, for example, encourage other people to pray and have the intention that, I want Allah to change me and allow me to be able to pray as well. So so I think topics that you guys give us, I really appreciate the topics, guys. Sharif mentioned a good point. Praying sunnahs at home, the kids see and start joining. I think that's very good. Yeah, and actually comes in a hadith as well. Prophet said, "Don't make your homes into graves." Yeah, pray salat in your homes. And Valerie's saying, "Subhanallah, beauty upon beauty in this relationship, definitely." And this was dope. Yeah, dope, not as in dope as in like drugs. Yeah, is that dope? Yeah.
Do I look cool with these weird hand gestures?
That's it, man. All right, guys. So take care, inshallah. And we will see you guys next time. And if you have any sort of topics, I don't have the link at the bottom to say to you, like, hit the link there. But put it in the comments of this video or send me an email, right? If you can, if there is an email somewhere. In the description, there should be an email, inshallah. Guys.
Make dua for Altaf as well.
Big dua for Altaf, guys. Altaf is ill. I don't know what he's got. I don't think it's COVID or anything. But he's not well, under the weather. I think a lot of people, you see, nowadays, because people are going back to work, schools have started, I think these small little sort of like coughs and little fevers are going around. The normal September,
Yeah.
October
It
cough.
scared everyone as well, doing it. So that's why people are being a lot more hesitant, being a lot more careful.
Yeah. So be careful, guys. Yeah, stay warm, stay wrapped up, cover your faces. Do niqab.
Grow a beard. It keeps
Yeah.
your face warm.
Wow.
That's to the brothers only.
Is that true? Does it keep your face warm?
I don't know.
Never noticed,
One thing I read, when you grow a beard, you're less likely to get spots because
Yeah.
the oils in your face naturally they're just.
Whoa. That sounds like a good thing. I'm gonna start keeping a beard now.
That one's
Shah
for the
Hassan is
brothers.
saying, may Allah bless Altaf with the best health. Ameen, Jazakallah khair.
Ameen.
And Altaf, yeah, I guarantee you, yeah. Altaf, if you're watching this later on, yeah, or you listen to it, guys. By the way, guys, now we're starting to put up the audio for these videos as well. So the audio usually is put up like within the next 24 hours. So the audio should be available in the description if you're watching this after 24 hours. And so some of you guys are interested in listening to the podcast, whilst you're moving around, and that's fine, inshallah. So the audio link should be available in the comments, inshallah. So our last thing I was going to say, Altaf, basically, yeah, let me tell you, if Haludi Foodie was to make something and send it to Altaf, I guarantee Altaf will become better for that food experience, yeah. So Yahya, if you're watching, yeah, Altaf's ill. Make something nice. Remember when we used to be ill? Those orange Lucozade bottles in the wrapping. So yeah,
Lucozade and yakhni. That's what we
yeah, soup as well, definitely. All right, again, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, guys. And let us know if this setup you think this format is better. If you think this format is better, I'm going to invest in this restream. Right, so it's a monthly amount you pay. So this is free at the moment. But if it's worth it, we'll invest in it, and inshallah we can actually use this setup. And with this, we can actually have about many people on there at one time. So if it's free, you can use 6 people at one time talking about topics. And if it's paid for, then you're looking at something like more than, I think, about 15 to 20 people or so, maybe more than that. You can have. So maybe some topics you might need to bring in the whole ummah. Who knows? Yeah.
We'll never get a word in though. One thing that's good about this Mufti Sahib, you could speak and I can speak at the same time, and it doesn't distort audio so much. On Zoom, if you're saying something, and say for instance me and Altaf, well, it's rude anyway. We shouldn't interject, but sometimes if you remember something and say something, one audio cuts out and it goes to the other one. I think it's a bit more balanced.
Yeah. Tahmid saying prefers this one set up much better. Hassan saying Shura Council. Yeah, we should have. I mean, it might be a good idea. That's why I'd say, some of you guys, I would be very happy to have some of you guys on. Yeah.
The Shura board, yeah.
If you guys want to come on, and if you don't have to show your face. Yeah. If you haven't washed your face in the morning, basically, yeah. It's okay. You don't have to show your face. And if you just want to talk about topics which you are comfortable with, or maybe something that you can give us an insight into your own experiences, I think that would be something very interesting. And these podcasts, I think they're good for exposure.
Yeah, just to give people a little bit of a taste of what's to come, inshallah. We definitely want to outreach work is another one, isn't it, Mufti Sahib, that we wanted to cover.
Outreach work, reverts as well. We want to maybe bring on reverts as well, talk about the revert world out there. Yeah, what's happening in the world that we don't know about, the kind of challenges. Yeah. And also, I think a lot to do with politics as well. I think it's important to bring in people who are Muslims who are involved in politics and see what the challenges all Muslims have when it comes to politics. Maybe in the whole industry of the meat industry, we did bring on Hill's finest, Osman, but I think we need to look at maybe organizations like HMC and HFA and all this kind of issue of what's really the issue behind all this kind of thing. Is it a big issue to eat from HFA, or do everything have to be HMC and
KFC and ABC and MBA?
Another a good topic NFL. I think would be things like expats. So got a brother who's actually willing to actually come on, but the only problem is Thursdays is difficult for him. So those people who actually go to Saudi and work there, what are the real expectations of living in Saudi and working there, and what's the reality of it? So so if a person's thinking, I want to send my whole family over there, work over there, is it a better lifestyle over there? What am I going to expect? I think that would be a very good thing to have on.
Definitely, inshallah.
So I think these kind of things are very important. And that's why your input, I think your guys' input is very, very important to us as well. We really appreciate what you guys say. Sometimes we do have a little banter and joke, but I think it's all, it's all done in good gesture. Yeah, it's good intentions. Niya's good. Intention's good. Yeah, and no offense to the makers of Darbar Jasmine perfume. If you guys want to sponsor us, Darbar Jasmine. If you guys want to sponsor us, then hit us, and inshallah we'll look into some sort of like a deal.
If you see us next week with a Sindhi hat, if you have a Sindhi hat on next week, and all the plants in the room have died, then know that we've been sponsored.
Why are they gonna die?
Because of the smell of the bloody.
Oh, right. And you feel like all the jinns are like all like kind of come to your room.
The jinns are like Toba kar yaar, cha.
Alright guys, take care inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.